Good evening. Conference meeting of the City Council of Orange Township held in the council chambers, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, March 17th. The time is now 19:06 at 7:06 p.m. Roll call. Councilman Corbett.
Here.
Councilwoman Tennessee Easton.
Here.
Councilman Gump Butler.
Present.
Councilman Howard Johnson, absent. Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Present.
And Council Vice President Coley is present. Also present we have Maggie O'Meara from the clerk's office. We have Attorney Smith from the law department, and we have Tia Thomas from the clerk's office. And can we please stand for a moment of silence?
What? You skipped Donna Williams.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Easton. The council president is absent at this time. Thank you. For the record. Thank you. Special notice, please be apprised, anyone wishing to discuss agenda or general items shall sign one book. There will be 2 columns in the book, one for general items and one for general issues. Each person signing the book will check agenda items or general issues. If they check only agenda items or general issues, they will be allowed to speak for 5 minutes. If they check general issues and general items, agenda items, they will be allowed to speak for 10 minutes. The municipal clerk announced that the requirements of NJSA 10:49 Sunshine Law has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and published in the record transcript on July 17th, 2014, posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the municipal clerk. Right now, we're going to move for matters of discussion. We're going to go out of order here a little bit. We're going to bring up Vinny from the health department. I think he's just going to be real quick.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, council members. I was asked today by Councilwoman Donna Williams if I can just talk a little bit about the noise ordinance that we have and also some shingles. I'll start off with the noise ordinance. She was concerned about the city's noise ordinance that we have. It could be tweaked a little bit. She wanted to see if we can get actually certified police officers doing noise readings. By doing so, it would actually cost the city per person over $3,000 to have one person certified. You'd have to attend the class for 2 days, buy a noise meter, and also there's recertification that's done every year. Also, just for a point of information, we have Essex County Regional that also comes out to read noise if there's an emergency that's real technical. But in the noise ordinance that we have right now, the police officers have been enforcing that for years. Also, we're certified in the health department for noise readings. I don't want to keep you too long. If there's any questions about that, I'll answer them.
I guess I'm a little perplexed what this is, because if there's a noise complaint, you're going to leave your home and come and do a policeman's job?
Well, that's in the ordinance right now. We have the police officers enforcing it. Certain towns have. There's also a noise ordinance that has to be, once we approve it, it has to be adopted by the DEP. Our noise ordinance is strictly for our town and is enforced by the police department.
Right.
At the present time, yes.
So what are you what are you talking about doing different? Is it not working?
I think it's working. I have no problems. I was asked to talk about it. The noise ordinance can be tweaked just a little bit. But then again, if there's something that really needs to be addressed by decibel levels or anything like that, we have the county health department that could come out, and we could come out if there's an emergency. But everything's addressed in the noise ordinance regarding, there's also a noise permit that's offered by the police department. When there's a festivity going on, a block party, and you want to amplify noise, you have to actually go to the police department to get a permit for it. So certain things are addressed already in the ordinance that we have. But I guess she wanted to see if it could be tweaked. And to do that, it would cost the town just to start off with one person would be a little over $3,000 to get that one person certified with a meter and so this way council knows.
Council Vice President?
Yes, Councilwoman Eason.
Vinny, I'm still confused because we do have something on the books that works well for me in my ward. So I don't know what we need to do differently because after 10 o'clock, the officers come and they enforce the noise and they can keep it up until 10 o'clock. Once it happens, if it's too loud before then, the officers would normally come out. They've been very good at doing that. They knock on the person's door and ask them to lower it. And it has worked. So I don't know what we are trying to do different and to incur that expense. I don't agree with that because, I mean, if I have 11 o'clock at night in my ward and there's too much noise, I'm not going to call you or anybody. I'm going to call the police. To
You're
come out
absolutely
and
right,
enforce it.
Councilwoman.
That's why I don't know
so-
why. But anyway.
That's fine.
But it has to be vetted out through the council. But I think what we have currently, it works.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We just want to let you know that there is a possibility in case you ever do decide to need it for any reasons. We have the county health department that's also state certified and we're state certified if we need it. But this way, like we said, the police department enforces it and I haven't had any problems yet with them.
No.
Nobody has, complained about it, so that's that. Also, she had some concerns regarding, we're hoping we can start doing some outreach work for shingles. There's over $566 million a year that's spent on shingles. Once you get the chickenpox virus, it stays in your body, it goes to your cells. The virus never leaves, it stays on. Once your immune system goes down, it actually comes out. As you go on in life, you get older, your immune system goes down. If you're getting treated for a cold or too much stress or staying out too much in the sun, or if you're going for chemo treatments, your immune system goes down and that might leach out the actual shingles out of your body. Okay, it lasts anywhere from 6 to 7 weeks. Merck does put out a vaccine out there. It ranges anywhere from $165 to $300, depending on the physician that's administering it. It's extremely painful. We're hoping that we have a doctor that comes on board. She's from Orange, she's a pediatrician. She'll be reaching out, hopefully, that when we start going to senior citizen complexes, if we all get the approval for her coming up soon. So if there's any other questions with that, I can answer questions about that.
No, sir.
No questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benny. For the record, Councilman Harold Johnson came in at 7:10. Okay. We have another matter of discussion, Central Planning and Redevelopment. Are they here? Guess they're not here. Oh, Ms. Mizell. Okay.
Good evening.
How are you today?
Very well, sir. I'm here to answer questions. Or I can
Okay,
give
well,
you, I can bring you up to speed on what has happened. That's maybe what I
If you
should
can
do.
just give us a brief overview as to what has been going on with the new development in the city, or is there any new plans that are on your desk that that we should hear about? I'm all ears.
I just gave Ms. Gordon the 2-inch version of what I've been working on for the past month, which is amendments to the Central Orange redevelopment plan. That's the plan that's been in town the longest. I brought a map with me, but I can pretty much define the area. Tony Galento Plaza is part of the Central Orange redevelopment area. All of that development going on there. The 2 new 5-story buildings are part of that area. But basically the area is everything south of I-280, everything east of Lincoln, everything west of the East Orange line, and Central Avenue as the boundary. So that's a very big chunk of property. We have amended this plan several times in the past because the area is ever changing. I think the other dramatic area that we've seen change is the Walter G. Alexander area. That was an area where the building, the 7-story, 8-story buildings were torn down. You have what's there now. Phase 3, which is a 42-unit and a senior center component, is getting ready to go under construction. So that area over by Oakwood Avenue and Oakwood Avenue School is, again, part of this area, and there's been substantial investment. The amendments to the Central Orange plan that are going to be put forward with Maggie, with the clerk's office tomorrow, are going to talk a little bit about, well, first of all, the Orange Hospital site is always a point of attention. The developers that own that property now prepared a historic district nomination for that site. I was in Trenton Thursday, and I testified in favor of creating a historic district, which would be about 6.5 acres in basically the hospital, the Orange Hospital site. What that does is it protects 8 of the 9 buildings that are on that property. I don't know how long you go back, but in I think 2004, 2005, before I started here, a site plan was approved that leveled every building on the 9 acres. So what we have, if this historic district goes through, if the plan is amended, is we'll be able to salvage 8 of the 9 buildings on the site. They'll be converted to residences. We don't know the formula yet, but we do know primarily they're going to be studio apartments and 1-bedrooms, so we don't expect to have a big impact on the school. So that's one of the changes that we're going to be presenting.
Now, is that all market rate properties?
Because we're a designated transit village, we do not have to provide any affordable housing as part of that particular project. So it's my understanding that no affordable units are planned. I have an inventory of all the affordable units we have in Orange, and we exceed what COA requires of us. So we're not in any jeopardy from the recent Supreme Court ruling or anybody else relative to meeting our obligation. So again, that's just one piece of it. Again, we talked about Walter G. Alexander. If you'd like to go through around Perro Street, you'll see some beautiful new energy efficient homes that have popped up in different locations. Most of those have been done as part of a project called Central Orange Village 2. They are just beautiful homes. The most visual project right now is a project that Hands has recently completed. This is a project that was approved just before we made mandatory green building standards. So we missed it by a little bit, but they've still done some green design on those homes. That project was on stall for 6 years. And now that it's being constructed, the units are all pre-sold. The idea is that there are 8 units altogether, 2 in each building. Someone is supposed to own the bottom floor, the top floor, and rent the other ones. So again, those units were pre-sold before they were even finished, which I think is a nice indication. So again, that's another boundary of the Central Orange redevelopment area. So the last plan amendment we did was in 2011, so now it's 2015. And again, the process is I will give the clerk's office the document I just shared with Ms. Gordon. I typically hand out a summary of 10 to 12 pages of what the changes are. One of the things that we're doing, oh, thank you. Explain this? Okay, that's not Central Orange, but I will if you'd like me to. We're creating a less intense district, which is already there, the Little Italy area of town right off of Lincoln and in Essex, South Essex area. Taking a few of the requirements that were on that area and lessening them some, because it's a residential area primarily, and I don't see a lot of 8 to 10 story development coming to that particular neighborhood. So we'll try and keep the Little Italy feel in that particular area. The historic district that's proposed, that's pretty much the boundaries that'll be changing. And again, the public hearing, Ms. Eason will be there. It's going to be on April 2nd. That's a Thursday night. It's a little bit unusual for the planning board to hear a hearing on Thursday night. I'm not telling anything I shouldn't. Taco Bell has got a location in mind for Orange. We'll be hearing that case or that site plan application as well. April 2nd, 7:30. We'll start here. Hopefully the plan amendments will be first, and then the Taco Bell hearing will follow that.
Question for you.
Sure.
That historic designation for the old hospital sites for someone's building, how will that benefit Orange?
2 things. It
taxpayers.
preserves those buildings. Those buildings won't be able to be torn down. That's the biggest thing. They will be restored, and there are criteria that developers have to meet. But fair to say, I think the biggest reason is the developers become eligible for a 20% tax credit. It's money back to them if they restore those buildings properly. So that's the idea behind the designation, in my opinion. We have about 10 different buildings on the National Register for Historic Places. We have some on the state register, but this would put 8 new buildings on the register and create our first district.
So does that mean we can't collect taxes on those buildings?
No, not at all. No. In fact, once those buildings are restored, the tax value will go up significantly.
Okay, and this historic, I guess, preservation, I believe those buildings that site has been abandoned for going on for like 15 years now.
2004 is when the hospital closed.
It's in a horrible condition, and they're going to gut those buildings completely out and improve all those environmental issues.
They're going to have to. I mean, they are preparing them for residential living, so yes, there is a mixed-use component to this. There will have commercial enterprises, primarily on the ground floor along South Essex and possibly Henry. But no, there's a lot of remediation that needs to go on the site. When you say gut, they'll gut to the extent that they don't take any load-bearing walls down and work within the confines of the architecture. It was interesting at the hearing. The whole hospital was modified in the mid 60s. 1964, 1965 is when they did what you see now. And boy, it was absolutely gorgeous before they touched it up. Be that as it may. So it's going to be interesting to see what level they take those buildings back to.
Any other question, council members, for Mr. Mizell?
Councilwoman Eason handed me a document which you voted on apparently on March 3rd. What this was, it was a request from my department, Mr. Mays, to take a look at the area that intersects Highland Avenue and Lincoln Avenue. If I give you a general description, the Love of Jesus Church owns a big parcel right now. They had tried to put a church there. I don't think you guys were on the Board of Adjustment when we heard that case, or you would have remembered. It was a 6-month case where this house of worship was turned down for this location. So the site has been vacant for quite some time. On, let me make sure I get the right street. On Clarendon Place, the Board of Education, or the public schools, have purchased at least 2, if not 3 houses along that street, with the clear intention of tearing those houses down and paving them. So in looking at this area, it does have some unique features in that we have a lot of vacant land. We have the school wanting to put their footprint on this neighborhood. And in my view, the best way to tackle this situation, or at least address it, is to take a look at it and come up with a plan for this area. So what you voted on was the boundaries and the properties that I'm supposed to look at and determine if they're in need of assistance, is being kind. We used to call them blighted areas. We don't call them blighted anymore, but certainly some of the properties are in a bad state of repair, or they're vacant. So again, there's a criteria that you have to look at and determine if this indeed is going to be a special planning area. Councilman Johnson and I talked about this at length, last week? So,
Seemed like yesterday.
Seemed like, yes, it did. But again, we have done this 5 other times in the history that I've been here. We have the Central Orange redevelopment area. The first thing you have to do is declare the area. Central Valley is another area that's been declared, an area that many people don't know about. But if you go south of Nassau Street, and I'll turn this around, this basically this area in the A2 zone from the railroad tracks over to East Orange and down to South Orange. In this area in green, this is West Orange, South Orange. I said East Orange, I didn't mean that. So this whole area here, south of the valley, that's what we call an area in need of rehabilitation. All that means is most of the houses in that area are 50 years old or older. And we set up that area so that we would encourage people to reinvest in those houses. If a property owner was to add a story or add a garage or make a single family into a 2-family, they'd be eligible for up to a 5-year abatement on the improvement that they make. So after 5 years, you have a better tax rateable in that neighborhood. A few people have taken advantage of that, but not much. It's not a very lucrative incentive, but nonetheless, we've created that area in need of rehabilitation through the same process of looking at an area, defining it. The planning board makes a recommendation, and then you have the final say on whether or not it's an area that needs special attention. So that's what this is. I've been authorized to look at this area, go to the planning board, make a case whether it needs help, doesn't, and then the planning board will make a recommendation to you. And if you say, yes, we agree, then I'll develop a plan for this particular block of property. The nice thing about this particular project, there's a law that took place about 2 years ago There's no eminent domain involved in a project like this. It used to be, again, with all of our zones, you, City Council, have the power to take property at fair market value. It's not a technique that's been used much recently. Long Branch, Asbury Park, those are the cities that get a lot of press for trying to take property. Atlantic City, but that's not the policy that we adhere to here. And in this particular case, there would be no properties identified as to be acquired. So the eminent domain cloud goes away in a process like this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilman
Good
Johnson?
evening again. Good evening, council colleagues. Mr. Mazza, I do thank you for the time you took out to meet with me and let me ask you a bunch of questions. But anyway, can you speak to, after you come back to your report, the process of informing the public? How many meetings and so forth?
For the Central Orange redevelopment plan, we advertised last Thursday. You'll see an ad in the Orange Transcript in the legal section tomorrow saying that we are having a public hearing for this matter. What we've done to try and expedite this is the public hearing is on April 2nd. There'll be an advertisement for you to act on the recommendations of the planning board on April 7th. So it's a very fast turnaround. Again, you'll have access to the information just like the planning board does. And the idea is the planning board will make a recommendation, and then you have the option of saying, yes, we agree, or no, we want to change this, or we don't want to allow that. So it's two notices in the paper, notice in the clerk's office. The documents are on file for at least 2 weeks before the meeting, which is why those are going to the clerk tomorrow.
Right.
And then the public hearing is on April 2nd, well advertised, and everybody has access to the information.
Yeah, more importantly, this resolution that you were handed that's going to affect the West Ward and the South Ward, when you come back with your findings, there's going to be a public.
Oh, absolutely. This will be done at the planning board level. So the planning board meeting probably May or June. Again, there's a lot on the agenda for the planning board right now. In fact, the meeting next in April is a special meeting. So again, it will be well distributed. Everybody will know, and it's going to be potentially controversial because what this is, it's the gateway to Seven Oaks. And a lot of people don't want to see anything but single-family homes in Seven Oaks. Well, what we have now is vacant lots and houses that are about to be torn down by the school system. So, whether the school system can do it or not, we can ask Dan, we can ask other attorneys. You're going to get 10 different answers for whether they can do it or not. I think the best approach is to work with them, come up with a plan that works for the city, that works for the school, that works for the neighborhood, and that's what this process will allow us to do, at least in theory.
That's it on my questions.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Mizell.
Nice to see everyone. Thank you for inviting me.
We have another presentation by Millennium Strategies. Are they here? Yes.
Good evening.
Good evening to you. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you this evening. Millennium Strategies has been the grant managers for the city now for well over a year. My name is Ed Farmer. I'm the president of Millennium Strategies. The gentleman who's passing out our reports is Dave Jenkins, and Dave is the principal grant writer that works with Orange. Over the last year and a half, we've worked with the city to bring in $1.5 million worth of funding, anchored by the award that was announced last month, which was the TAP grant, which was over $600,000 to rehabilitate the Highland Avenue train station. We're also extremely hopeful that we'll find out at the end of this month about our Green Acres application. And we will find out at the end of this month, but based on conversations that we've had with the DEP, we believe that the city will get funding with Green Acres. We've done a lot of work, with administration and helping with, grant programs that were funded in the city, but that weren't properly administered or that were needed a little extra attention in order to make sure the funds came through. That is something that Dave's worked very hard on, and we've had a tremendous amount of success, working very well with Marty Mays and his department. And I think we've really got a nice groove, and we're starting to see the fruit of the labor that we've been working with the city starting to come through. And obviously we'd love to continue our service because we have a lot of good things in the that are pending and projects we're working on. So David, if you have anything else you'd like to add?
Absolutely. There's two reports that you have in front of you right now. One is our year-end report from last year, and the other one is a snapshot of the grants to date through this year, through the end of March. You can see on last year's report, the year-end report, total awarded was roughly $800,000 at $807,765. We had, at the end of December in 2014, we had 11 applications outstanding with a total of $5.1 million. And Ed just highlighted the fact that much of that we're still awaiting disposition on and whether or not they're going to be approved. There were some grants that the city chose not to pursue for various reasons. And certainly we can answer anything in regards to those. But we had a very successful year. In 2013, we brought in roughly $400,000. We basically stood before you last year and said we wanted to double that. We did, and this year we're at roughly $730,000 already through the end of March. So as Ed was just highlighting, we're definitely hitting some traction right now. We're having some success, and we want to be a part of the solution in terms of meeting your goals as a council. Do you have any questions with what you're looking at right now in terms of the awards or the outstanding applications?
Well, on Council Vice President,
Yes.
on your
Councilman.
year-end report, on the second page, you mentioned to install a new air conditioning system. I don't know if my mic is on.
It's on.
Okay. Where are you intending on installing this new air conditioning system?
That was for the library complex.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I can specify that for the next one.
Okay. And also, in looking at a quick perusal of your report, I don't see very much activity around resurfacing our streets. That, to me, is a priority. We can't do that, not all the streets that we need to get resurfaced here in the city of Orange, based on bond money. We need grants for that. So are you guys working toward that end? Is there a plan in place for that?
Do we do municipal aid?
We don't do your municipal aid grant program application. That comes directly through the department. Most municipalities, in all honesty, they handle that internally. So that you'll see that's not referenced.
That is the primary program for the resurfacing of streets. The TAP grant can also be utilized for the resurfacing of certain streets. Safe Streets to Transit, Safe Routes to Schools can be utilized. You did apply for those, but you picked, the administration and who we were working with picked different programs, different projects that they deemed a priority at the time. So, but the main funding source for the resurfacing of streets is the municipal aid program. Okay. And you just handle that internally.
Okay. Also, this is your year-end report, right, for 2000 and...
Yes, there's two reports
14.
You're looking at, the one year-end and the one... We provide the administration a copy of an updated report on a monthly basis.
I know this is something probably more toward the administration, and I don't really see anyone here to answer that question, but I certainly would like to see that report filtered up or down to the council on a monthly basis as well. We would certainly like to see what you're working on. But I'll have that conversation with the administration.
We agree. I mean, we would, we'd much rather be, make sure everyone's kept up to date, and that's why we provide it. So however this information, I mean, we provide it to whomever we're, asked to provide it to. Disseminated.
Are you currently under contract?
I believe our contract actually, officially ended in December, and we've been waiting for the opportunity to, come before you, and obviously we've been continuing to work. The same thing happened last year, and then we were hired retroactively, which isn't uncommon. We prefer to have a contract prior going forward, but I believe that's why we're here tonight, is to answer questions with the hope that we will, be continuing. And obviously, the first part of this year, we've had a tremendous amount of success and have been kept pretty busy.
So there really aren't any conversations taking place or negotiations taking place toward renewing your contract? No.
We haven't been told as, the last 2 years, they've just, when we have been rehired, they've reauthorized our past contract.
Okay. Also, I guess you're going after this money. I'm looking on the second page. Application submitted. You're waiting for a decision.
Yes.
Okay. And that one surrounds the violence against women. $285,386.
We should find out. I mean, it's very rare that a grant, it happens, but that takes 13 months to hear back, but we should hear soon on that one.
Councilman, I can follow up on that specific grant and get back to you personally.
I'd appreciate that. That's something I'm very interested in.
Sure. Absolutely.
Anything else? I don't really see anything else at this particular moment. So thank you, Council Vice President.
Thank you. Any other questions, council members?
Council Vice President, I have a question for
Yes,
couple
Councilman
questions
Johnson.
for these gentlemen. Good afternoon, gentlemen. Good evening.
Good evening.
My concern is I don't see anything on this report, and you guys have been with us for a couple of seasons now, to beef up our police department. What's going on with grants for hiring police officers? Unless I'm not recognizing.
It's on, it's
Second
on the
page.
second
It's
page.
coded.
Will you do that?
It says 2 officers.
Councilman,
Sure.
past practice, at least with the police department, they have applied for grants internally. They had a couple staff members that had handled those applications. We've made them aware of opportunities such as the cops hiring program, and when they come out, and in fact, that particular program will be open within the next 2 months. There's an email that came out from the federal government the other day, so we'll certainly make them aware of that, and we're at their disposal to write it as directed.
The Orange internally can handle getting better grants or more grants for police than you guys can?
I mean, we're very good at it. I mean, we do it for a lot of our clients, but when we came here, there was already a system in place within the police department to apply for grants, and we work within the system that that we're asked to. So we've availed our services. That's certainly part of our services. I do not know to the level of success. They certainly have been doing it for years, but I don't know the level of success they have writing their own grants internally. That is certainly covered within our contract to do that, and we always make the city aware when that opportunity. The main funding opportunity for law enforcement officers is the federal cops program. That is really the one that is, well, I mean, there's small grants here or there that can help with equipment, but the majority of, as far as helping with personnel, is the Department of Justice cops program. And that is a program that's been handled, that we always make the city aware of when it's out, and it's about to be announced, actually.
Okay, Councilman Corbett, you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to inform the council and others as far as grants are concerned, with the police department are concerned, based on conversations that I've had with the police director. They normally try to shy away from grants in terms of using it to hire personnel, because once the grants are out, then that personnel, we got to decide what we're going to do with the personnel. So the police department is usually like to use grants for equipment, as the gentleman stated, more than hiring personnel for those reasons.
Aren't we going to experience older policemen in their service leaving, and so it's going to free up spots for people to be hired permanently, is it?
Yes. Just so you know, our police department is down. Numbers are drastically down.
Council Vice President? Just
Yes.
an update in our budget that when we get it, there's gonna be a section that they wanna hire 12 new ones, so they're putting it in the new budget.
Thank you.
Any other
I
questions?
have a question.
Yes, Councilman Neeson.
Where it says, to recover and fund the rehabilitation of the city hall's facade, when did we get that?
That was a 2008 grant through the New Jersey Historic Trust. It was in jeopardy of being revoked early on last year, so we applied for a grant extension and made an arrangement with the New Jersey Historic Trust to secure those funds and get the project moving.
Why was it in the process of being revoked?
There had been no action taken to proceed with the grant.
To spend the money?
To spend the money, there had been a series of quarterly reports, I believe a couple years of quarterly reports that hadn't been filed. So we made contact with the state, filed all the past reports, on behalf of the city, and then, you know, worked with them to file an extension of the dollars. It's not uncommon, but, you know, a letter showed up that said the money's going to be revoked within 30 days if we do not, you know, the reports aren't filed. So, I mean, we got involved and helped, and helped, for lack of a better term, you know, save the dollars.
So we could have been using that money?
Yes,
to
it
redo
is a.
City Hall?
Well, the one thing to keep in mind with that particular grant is a one-to-one match. So
Yes.
there is a matching requirement in place, and part of the issue I think over the years was the availability of funds. So it was a $140,000 award, and it has to be matched one-to-one. So there needs to be a $140,000 commitment from the city.
So how long is the extension?
I believe it was for 2 years,
So 2008.
through the end of 17, I believe.
When we got the extension was, you know, 2000, at the end of 2014, when it was granted.
So Nair is gone?
Excuse me?
Is it gone or is it still?
No, it's
No, it's-
granted through 2017.
Oh,
We're
2000,
able-
okay, okay. So we still have an opportunity to do that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Is it through Marty's department?
Yes.
Yeah. So I believe, Councilwoman, that the plan is that the city is now, you know, working towards, you know, designing and coming up, implementing the project.
Do you by any chance know who's working that project?
That was through Marty Mays.
Okay.
And Marty was the one that brought us on to work on that project once he got the letter.
Okay, any other questions, council members? Any other statements from you guys, or?
It's a pleasure working with you guys. We hope to continue it.
And we're right down the road. We can be here whenever you need us to be. So we've really enjoyed our experience here, and as you can see, you know, and I think we'll be back in front of you in another month with another nice sized grant from Green Acres.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the record, there's no one from the administration here, and our Legislative Research Officer, Karen Harris, showed up at 7:35.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
very
evening.
much.
Our CFO, Julie Scary, she's here.
Essex County. Essex County liaison.
Yes. You have anything for us?
He's on the agenda.
Okay. All right. Is he?
He's on the agenda.
Okay.
He's
Very good.
first.
Good evening, Vice President, Council Vice President, council members. Ike Jenkins from the County of Essex. A couple of things I just wanted to share with the council tonight. And there's some packets I have laid on the table here for each council member. I can pass those out or and speak to them as I speak. The first thing, the county will be sponsoring its 9th annual Project Homeless Connect Day on March 26th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Essex County Branch Brook Park Roller Skating Center located at 7th and Clinton Avenue in Newark. Health screenings, food, haircuts, public assistance, and many other services will be rendered during this free event. A flyer is provided in the packet that's being handed out to all the council members, and there are more outside on the table outside the chambers. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
The Essex County Executive Joe DiVincenzo is inviting all children to participate in the 2015 summer camps at Turtleback Zoo, Cody Arena, and the Essex County Environmental Center. Dates, times, and camp curriculums vary per location. Again, a flyer is contained in that packet that's being passed out for all the council members, and there are more outside on the table, outside the chambers. The county received notification from the State Environmental Affairs Coordinator on March 10th. Notice with regard to the application process for free tree seedling for your community. Unfortunately, the deadline was March 15th, and we got notified very late. I did send this out via Marty Mays, but if you did miss the deadline, we do apologize. Did include it in the packet, although, for information in case you want to read more about it, as it may circle around again. That way we'll be ahead of the game next time it comes around. The Association of the New Jersey Environmental Commissions has announced grant funding availability to help local communities complete open space projects, sustainable Jersey certification actions, and/or environmental commissions activity. The deadline for grant application is April 1st, and the staff at the Land Conservancy of New Jersey will assist municipalities with the application process at no cost. Contact them directly for more information and assistance. Again, flyers are provided in the packet that's been passed around. And lastly, at the last meeting that was here, Councilwoman Easton had mentioned or talked about the condition of High Street. I was able to speak to the Director of Public Works with regard to the scheduling of the resurfacing of that road, and I'm advised that it's going to take place early this year. Couldn't pinpoint a date, but because of the weather, things took off to a slow start. So things are getting up and moving now with the weather being as it is. So we look to see improvement there on the High Street soon. Okay. And that's all I have.
Council President, Vice President,
Yes, Councilman Corbett.
I just want to know where we are with this idea. I deliberately took a ride over Scotland Road from South Orange Avenue toward Orange, and I just paid close attention to the surfacing of that area. And as soon as there's a little area in South Orange where there's always a bad spot, ice and other things just make the road crumble. But they always pay close attention to that, meaning the county, and making sure that that's taken care of. But just as I got to the South Orange border, that's when you really begin to notice how the surface is really, really in bad shape. And it's been like that for the last several years. So do you know of any plans that the county might be working on now to reduce Scotland Road all the way out to Main Street? Because it needs to be done. Okay. And even if you're looking at just the intersections, in particular, Tremont and near Haywood and Scotland Road. Really, really bad. I mean, you got to go on the other side of if you're traveling north, you got to go on the other side of the street to avoid those potholes. And so I was wondering if the county has any plans on resurfacing Scotland Road at all this year.
Not that I'm aware of, and if it's been discussed, I just haven't heard the conversation, but I can certainly inquire.
Would you please?
Sure, absolutely.
It's in dire need.
Okay,
all right?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for our county liaison?
One other thing, Council Vice President, if I can. We did have a conversation this morning at the Public Works meeting with regard to Orange Park. One of the things the county executive had noted during his tour recently is that the condition of the park needed some attention. And he did make it clear to the Parks Director that the county needs to prioritize the cleanup of the park. I took a tour myself, actually, and saw numerous tree limbs that are down and debris and even fencing that's in disrepair. So again, we did have that conversation this morning, so I expect to see improvement there as well too. And I will stay on top of the Public Works Director or the Parks Director myself to make sure that does get improved.
Thank you.
Council,
Yeah, Councilwoman Easton.
when the weather gets better and the geese come back from Florida, you guys are going to pay special attention to that, right? Because at the end of the season last year, it was overrun with geese
In the park.
in the park. And I know Mr. Garrett had worked on that with me before, and they had disappeared for a while. So if they come back, you won't be able to use the park because there's so many out there. So could you guys try to stay on top of
Sure, absolutely.
Not only that, but the stuff that they leave behind.
that? Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Familiar with that too. Yes.
And one other thing, while I have you here, one of the issues that we have in my neighborhood is the mosquitoes. Mosquito control, over the last couple of years, they have been a little slacking on their response. Years past, I myself or my neighbors, we would call, and they would have a quick response. They would come out, do the assessment, and then they would spray. But the last couple of years, they have been slacking on coming out and spraying. So if we can just talk about that. So when we do get when you guys do get those calls regarding the mosquitoes coming up, they can just take care of us a little better this year coming.
I know there's a scheduled agenda and plan as to when they go out, but I'll certainly mention that. Make sure they stay on top of that.
One other question, Council Vice President. Does the county generally have their street sweepers come through the county-owned roads? If they do, how often do they come through?
Unfortunately, I don't have an answer for you today, but I can find out.
Because
don't know.
I can narrow it down for you.
Okay.
Scotland Road.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I can find out and let you know.
Thank you.
Any other questions,
Oh, yeah, this,
concerns?
can I make a motion to close?
Um,
Oh, no.
Any other questions for council members? No. Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. We're gonna move the agenda, resolutions and ordinances.
Council Vice President,
Yes.
the bill list, resolution 85.
85.
Page 1, at the very bottom, it indicates Chauvelin Mattress Factory Bed Frames Mattress Springs in the amount of $8,740. And I can only imagine one department that would be used for, but I just want to confirm it because it's not spelled out here. I can only imagine that's for fire. Is that? Yeah. But if you notice above it, it indicates something about fire, but that's $179. But below that, it never mentions what it's for. So I just want to be certain that that is for the fire department. Again, I can't imagine why the city would purchase mattresses and springs for any other department but the fire department. So I just wanted to be sure. Mr. Director, can you respond to that or somebody?
I know.
Kenneth Douglas, acting fire director, Orange Fire Department. I guess since we're the only ones that on 24-hour call besides the police department and stationed the firehouses, this is a bill that is ours. What predates me, this order actually took place in October 27, 2014. From what I have researched, the beds in the firehouses and the mattresses were about 20 years old, which is 20 years younger than 20 years old. That's a long time for different individuals sleeping on these beds. Now that occupies both firehouses on Washington Street and on Central Avenue. So it was a cost that was deemed necessary at the time.
I agree with that. But have they been installed?
Yes, they have.
Because when I was there Thursday, those didn't look like the new ones. They did not look like the new ones.
The light must have been dim.
Those were the new ones.
Yes, they were the new ones.
Okay.
He was inspecting beds.
All right. All right, that's all I have with regards to the bill list, unless someone else wanted to chime in on the bill list. But I do have another resolution that I wanted to have a conversation on. Anyone else want to chime in on the bill list?
On the bill list, they generally have a salary and wage report attached to this?
It should be.
I saw
Ms.
Ms.
Lascari,
Lascari, you want to comment on that?
I saw salaries. I'm not going crazy.
This goes from page 1 to page 3, page 5.
Oh, no.
Do we get new ones? Or
No, I got the same. You didn't get anything new.
how can this be right?
Hello, the Takesha Knight Finance Department.
Just hold on 1 second. The council president just showed up at 7:55. Thank you. Apologize.
No problem. No, the salary line item is not there, but you'll have two on the next bill list. We just got kind of behind, so it was not prepared in time for the bill list.
Okay. Any other questions?
Council Vice President, Resolution 82-2015.
Hold on, are we finished with the bill list?
I thought somebody else may raise this question. Is there supposed to be a page 2, 4, 6, 8? I got page 1, 3, 5.
This is regarding the bill list?
Regarding the bill list, yeah.
That's what I have too.
Are we supposed to have like some even numbers to go with this too?
The corrected copy was emailed to us. I received that
Gotcha.
same incomplete copy of the bill list. If you want to look at mine, you want to look at mine, or
It was emailed to us today,
um,
early in the week.
I believe over the weekend. You know, I didn't check my email, but I did come here and get a copy, so I can't tell you when.
Okay. No problem.
Okay, Councilman Johnson, the clerk's office is going to go make us some copies, the corrected copies of the bill list.
Thank you.
If you like, we can just come back to this.
Yes.
Okay. Council President, we're going to come back to this.
Not unless you want to view mine. You want to look at mine?
Go ahead, I'll sit here till you.
No, no, I'm fine.
No, if you had questions, I thought I just leave you.
No, I just didn't have the even numbers.
Oh, Friday. So Councilwoman Easton said you want to take up?
Are there any other questions regarding the bill list? Okay, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Council President Donna Williams. Just give me a minute.
Council President,
Councilman Corbett?
Resolution 82-2015. This is a resolution authorizing the City Council to retain the law offices of Robert Tarver as legislative counsel to the City Council in the City of Orange Township. I'm concerned about bringing this back because I'm not really sure if we're getting the services that we need in this whole bitter lawsuit that we've been fighting since 2012. So I think we need to take a good, long, hard look at this, make sure that we are still heading in the right direction, because so far everything that we tried to do in this instance doesn't seem to be working.
Councilman Corbett, that would be a matter for executive session. Mr. Tarver did appear when he stated why this resolution would have to go for in terms of the appeal, but it would, any other thing other than this is for the appeal, it would have to go into executive session.
Well, I'm going to suggest at the proper time that this be tabled.
And again, we'll have to bring Mr. Tarver back because he was here to answer questions when he was here previously. Are there any other questions?
I have
Councilman Easton?
17,
Yes, ma'am.
2015.
Your question?
On page, just on the second page on the back, where it says memberships.
Under 210-78?
Yes. There is nothing, no provisions for the commissioners to be appointed by council.
Councilwoman Easton, this is going to be removed and it has to come back with the mayor because there's some people that have been appointed and we have to make sure the people that have been appointed will, this is not ready to go forth yet. So this is going to
I
be
just wanna make
postponed.
When you move it, bring it back.
And
that
also
some-
note that.
That some provision is made that the council, how they're gonna get appointed.
Right.
I don't think we want that to be open-ended.
Okay. And I think you've appointed your person already though.
Right.
Right,
But
okay.
I think it still needs to state that,
Yes, ma'am?
because if it's not in writing, it's not so. So,
Yes.
17, 2015, I think she's gonna pull.
It's going to be postponed.
Yeah.
Are there any other
Could
questions?
I just make a quick request? Could, and I'm sorry I didn't do this, I apologize to the council. This is for Councilman Grant Butler, if you don't mind. Could you sort of just briefly tell us what the changes are on 8/2015, 18/2015, 14/2015? Just a brief, and 15/2015.
Okay, so,
We can start with 7 first.
I can start with which one?
7. No, wait a minute. No, there's not a
So I
7.
might need,
Start with 8,
the LROs as.
just so I'm clear.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm sorry I didn't do this, I meant to, but
That's okay.
I just didn't get the time.
Kevin, can you get us the council members, please?
Or maybe, yeah, the attorney can tell us.
What number you want, Councilman? I'm sorry. You want to start with 17?
It's 8, 14, 15, and 18.
So you want a summary? And I just handed out a summary sheet as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna, the legislative research officer is so helpful. He just gave me an interpretive statement, but I'm gonna use my own words. And if I'm incorrect, the city attorney or the legislative research officer can help me. Okay, so 8/2015, it's just to, that is really, I guess, some wordsmithing to ensure that the duties of the municipal clerk are written in a manner more consistent with the state statute. So that's just some wordsmithing for 8/2015. For 14/2015, this is to ensure that the department directors at least report to us at least quarterly with a written report, and then it can be followed up with an oral recitation and question and answer if we require the need for that. 15/2015. This really is regarding council committees, the standing committees, ensuring that each council member is represented on committees, and at least 2. And so this is about the process of making sure that all of our voices are heard. And 18/2015, it's regarding the powers of the city council, in as much as that we can govern ourselves with regards to entering into contracts and doing what we need to do separate and apart from the administration. So the administration couldn't hold up anything that we wanted to process as long as it was budgeted for. So that's my brief summary. Questions?
That's what I have.
So, on 18-2515, Attorney Smith, Legislative Research Officer Harris, did you discuss this with the attorney?
Yes.
You would have to go to the mic.
Thank you. It was discussed, Madam President.
And the council would be able to enter into contract without the administration in certain instances?
Well, under certain instances, as long as those contracts would have to be reviewed and recommendations would have to be made by the city attorney as the attorney for the governing body as well as the attorney for the city itself.
And who would be the ultimate signer of the contract?
It would either be, under most circumstances, it's not included necessarily in the language, but it could be either the council president or the city clerk as secretary to the governing body.
Could sign a contract
On behalf of the council.
on behalf of the council to enter for services.
Yes.
And Attorney Smith, and that would be 18-2015.
There's a previously one that we had discussed, and so I'm looking at this packet, and it appears that we had initially talked about one that we had signed off on, but I believe the second one, which I believe there was communication with my office and the council member about this, that there was still some discussion that was going on. Mr. White, we communicated with Councilwoman Dawn Butler. So in respect, there are some changes between the one that was initially discussed at the last council meeting and this one, which I received in my packet, which is not signed. So I'm not sure what other conversations Mr. Harris had with my office about this. So I think the question was sent to Ms. Butler regarding further discussion on 18. Did you receive that?
I had no discussion with Attorney White.
The only discussions I had on the matter were with you, Mr. Smith.
Well, our conversations, as you know, go back to the previous council meeting, which we did sign off on. But subsequent to that, in today's packet, I'm receiving one that isn't signed.
Those matters were, if you remember, the matters that were scheduled before the last meeting were initially withdrawn by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. They were, in fact, that ordinance was reintroduced. That ordinance was reintroduced for tonight. It encompasses what you and I discussed.
So, minimum, I like the opportunity just to see word for word if it's still the same document. If so, I have no problem with the document that we originally signed. But if there are any changes, then obviously I'd like to come back to the council president and to Councilwoman Butler about the changes. Because in the packet I received, it wasn't signed. I signed the original one. So I need to see what's in the one that's in the packet today. And I think the same goes for 14. So I'd just like to take a moment and come back to that if possible, perhaps during the break.
But just on the surface, Attorney Smith, you are agreeing there are some instances where the council can enter into contract?
Well, the idea was for the council, where they budgeted certain items, that they would have options to move on those things.
Right.
And we would be assigned, and
Because that would be your bill.
Any other questions?
Yeah, on this ordinance, number 18, this will 25. I just have a question, on the second page, I guess it's paragraph G, where it says audio and video recording of council meetings outlined in, chapter 4-9.
Yes.
I've been looking through the code 4-9, and I've never seen anything regarding the video and recording.
No, 4-9 just deals with council meetings in general and the services of a video or audio recording. Remember, the ordinance does not limit services to it. It may include those services, but it doesn't necessarily limit it to it. 4-9 deals with meetings, which presumably you would need or desire video and audio recording services for, if it's not being met by, if the administration is not providing assistance with that.
Right, and essentially what this does is it takes us being able to enter into a contract out of the political realities of the community. So it allows us to be self-advocating and I guess it allows us to have the ability to enter into a contract for services that we have previously budgeted for without any delay or we still have to go through the process, through the administration to process entering into a contract or things of that nature, but essentially it empowers us to do so. And I think that's important. There are sometimes things that have been delayed because of whatever the political realities we're dealing with, and so I want to I want to take us out of that realm and put us into a more, I guess, functional position.
No, I understand the Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. I'm just confused, or I guess my antenna goes up because specifically Attorney Smith has been consistent that this council cannot enter into contract, and to hear tonight that, go Councilman, Attorney, I'm sorry. No, you.
Well, we did have the discussion with Attorney Smith, and he understood what my position was and what I was trying to do.
Because we had budgeted for certain things in the past that we weren't able. What were you going to say, Attorney Smith?
No, but I was doing something.
Okay. Council President. Councilwoman Eason.
Attorney Smith can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in this instance where you refer to contracts, it's contracts, not the overall contracts for the city, which we can't enter
Right.
into.
Right.
This is just for council.
No, I understand.
It's
Right.
just separate, so that doesn't
Separate
make
and
it
apart.
as extensive. Like if we wanted to hire an attorney again, we could go into a contract or something that we needed specifically for the council, like the taping, which has
Exactly.
been a thorn in our side because it's hard to get the bills paid. So it gives us the ability to be able to do things like that, which we didn't have before.
No, I completely understand, Councilwoman. I'm just amazed that that the agreement is that we can do this. But, okay. Are there any other questions? No?
I just
Attorney
want to
Smith?
point out the document that
Uh-huh.
I have today,
And we're speaking to 18?
it's, 18. It does have a change in it that was not what we originally agreed upon.
You want to point to the change, Mr.
Sure.
Smith?
Under even legal services.
Under what letter?
Legal services. There's reference to providing an agreement to provide legal services to the city attorney for
They can't hear you,
review.
attorney.
The document that we had originally talked about.
Talking to Mike.
So under
was
G
for- was for
1C,
approval.
but G1C?
Now,
You talking about G1C?
G1C.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what I'd like to do, since we are about to talk about parameters for trying to contract, that should go into executive session. I'd be more than happy to elaborate my perspective on this, because this would then be something that should be an executive session and not part of the open discussion. Because there's a change here which obviously I did not sign this. So I'd like to just discuss it further with the council if I can,
Okay.
about the changes.
Okay. Are there any other, is there any discussion on any other matter?
Yes, ma'am. How you doing this
Council-
evening?
Good, sir. Councilman Johnson, the bill
Yeah.
list?
No, 73-2015.
73-2015, yes.
Council President, I do have some questions and some concerns. I've been looking at all this transfer stuff we've been doing since December, and which I believe the December one was like 48:4-58, and then the ones you can do for the previous year in 2015, which is this one right here. It's the second one, I believe, 40A:4-59.
4-59,
Right. If we can reflect back in December when we were handed a resolution 341-2014, the administration was telling us that there was funds available to the tune of $1,377,000 to be transferred that we can use to offset outstanding bills in December. And I'm looking at all the new ones that are under this 40A:4-59. And many of these transfer froms are different items that are not on this list here. So we're finding all this money from places to transfer. I would think that if we didn't use all this money up with this 1.3, that it would be similar accounts being transferred now as opposed to completely different accounts. And I'm seeing it's not one or two, it's multiple discrepancies. Unless somebody can explain to me how come we had all this money here in all these accounts, and now we're transferring money now to clean up 2014 and using completely different accounts.
Mr. Scary?
In general, when the departments, I'm sorry, Joy Lascari, CFO, when the departments make me aware that there is a need in their department to cover obligations that are presented to them, that is when I put together a transfer resolution. This original one from December was an attempt to cover all of the salary and wages. This one was rejected. And at the time, I took from the balances that presented in the budget, in the transaction audit trail, which you guys received copy of. I draw from the accounts that have availability of funds. You're not going to have an exact match from this, because things change.
Does that help you, Mr. Councilman Johnson?
We've had this year, I think, a total of 3 transfers. And all I'm saying is that these transfers that we're using this year aren't the same ones, because we didn't transfer in 2014 from those accounts. What I'm leading up to, because we're going to eventually start talking about this cap bank situation, and it looks like to me, just a layperson that's not an accountant, that at the end of the year we had so much money left over. I mean, we were under the budget. If we're still paying off bills from 2014 with 2014 money, we must have been in pretty good shape. And our fund balance must be looking halfway decent. We shouldn't be like tapped out of 2014 money. And yet still we get ready to approach this 2015 year looking to do a cap bank and raising a whole bunch more money on top of the 2% we were supposed to stay under. That's all I'm saying.
Did you want to respond, Mrs. Scary? No?
No.
Okay. Councilwoman Neeson?
Well, my question is.
Oh, Joy, you said before she leaves?
Yeah, before
Okay.
she leaves. You're transferring it into Public Works, and so is this saying that they overran their budget by that amount?
Bills were presented for engineering services that need to be covered.
That were not budgeted for in the budget, the current budget. So they didn't overrun.
Not yet,
So why are you transferring money there then?
because we have bills that need to be covered. We need to pay bills.
I understand that.
They're
but
not-
My question is,
They're not paid.
my question is, the bills that need to be paid were not budgeted for in the 2014 budget, is what you're saying.
I would say probably that the budget for engineering services in 2014 was inadequate to the need. And therefore, we're covering it now with a transfer.
So they did, in fact, overrun their budget. They're overrunning that budget. That's why you transfer money in there. I mean, that's the bottom line. If your bills need to be paid with transferring the money, that means they overran.
That's
The
a
same
half
thing with
full,
the-
that's a half full
But same
perspective,
thing for
I'm
the
sorry.
law department. I'm gonna ask Attorney Smith, did you guys overrun your budget by $12,000? Mr. Scary?
Miss Attorney Smith, we're transferring $12,500 into the city attorney. Do you know what that is for?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Ms. Lascari, do you know what the $12,500 is for?
legal bills.
It's for legal bills.
That were not budgeted for, or is it? So this is in your operating expenses, not in your salaries, right?
Nothing could be done with salaries at this point.
Attorney Smith?
I'll have to take a look at it.
Well, we're going into a new budget year, and I guess my question is, what you're in essence saying, we didn't put enough budget into those 2 budget lines to get you through to the new budget?
That is conceivable. We did come before you with a budget request before, and I believe monies were cut from our budget from last year. So it's conceivable, but I'd have to look at it case by case to see how we're spending our money. We've been very good stewards with the city's money when it comes to whether it's resolving cases or utilizing attorneys for the defense of cases against the city. And we have an admirable track record at this time for the defense of the city in all matters.
And I'm not disputing it. I'm just saying maybe going forward, we need to look at the amount we're appropriating for. Because my thing is, when we do a budget, it's the intent that you guys will stay within that budget. And to run over, I could see like 2,000 or 3,000, but 12,000 and then 42,000. I mean, that's a little excessive to me.
Well, the only thing I can say with respect to that, I would have to look at the case that we're talking about that may have created this issue. I mean, obviously it's not salaries, so that's not what's overrun. It may have been counsel fees or the resolution of certain cases that was not envisioned at the time that it would resolve perhaps as soon as it did, or resolve as soon as it did. It may have brought some burden, placed a burden on the money that was set aside for settlements of cases.
But didn't we get a letter tonight about when the budget would be ready?
Yes. They're waiting for two things, and they hope to get it ready once the two things, one is corrected and one is submitted.
Because, so for the two, this is for, so we're not anticipating of having it until April 7th, right? Mm-hmm. And just a comment. Mm-hmm. In the city of Plainfield, Mr. Mapp's budget was delivered on time. So we need to ask them why that couldn't happen in the city of Orange.
Are there any other questions?
Council President, I do, if
And the
Council,
bill list, and everybody has a bill list if they have to go back to the bill list.
if Council Easton's finished.
Mm-hmm.
This is the second meeting that we've had with Department of Public Works being the main player in the transfer, and Director Mays is not here. Mm-hmm. It's very suspicious when I see the reference removal, and I want to ask somebody a question about reference removal. If I'm under the impression that we have a contract, and we have 2 transfers this year for reference removal that's affecting some bills for 2014. I don't know if anybody can speak on that.
Mrs. Scary?
There is a walk-on resolution for another transfer regarding refuse removal that I believe you all have. The reason for that, there are 2 aspects of refuse removal. One is the contracted, and the other is a reimbursement to condo and apartment facilities. They haul their own and then bill the city, or submit their paid bills to the city for reimbursement. Unfortunately, many times they're not very timely in presenting their requests. All of the requests that are on for this one are for last year's hauling, but they were submitted late. And they also require a fair amount of review to make sure that we do not reimburse for more than what the city's rate would be for the same amount of garbage. So, timing.
Council President, is the city budgeting for that, or are you just blindsided waiting for somebody to give you bills?
It's budgeted for, but sometimes sometimes things kind of take us by surprise, and that's kind of what's happened. We also, I believe, transferred money out of those line items last year incorrectly, and that was, I think Mr. Lurch had canceled some of the fundings from that, based on the original requests. But budgets are not they're not perfect. They never are. And that's why you have the ability to transfer.
Okay,
because
I
you may
understand
have
that.
an idea or an ideal that it should cost about this much, but at the end of the year, you have the total budget for the city. So long as you remain within the total budget for the city, you're okay. It's just that you do need to fund the lines that need to be used. We have money available in other lines. We need to move it to the lines where we need to use it.
Okay, but I'm talking about reference removal. I'm not talking about the total budget. Now, you explained to me there's two separate things. One is the contract. We understand that's fixed. The other thing, where we get billed for reimbursing people that do their own reference. I mean, the city's been doing that with these people for a while. The number of people that use this method with the city is not going to fluctuate. If you got 25 entities that does this on a yearly basis, and you do that every 3 years, you kind of know how to budget for. You're not blindsided.
Actually, in the past, excuse me for butting in, but in the past, it was all on one account number, so the charges for the contractual and the charges for the reimbursements were all on the same line. This year, we're switching that. We're making it separate lines so that it's easier to budget for. So you have a better understanding of exactly how much you need for that. And we will have a better understanding of how to budget for 2015 because we have separated out. And it will be presented in that manner in the 2015 budget.
Okay, thank you.
And Mr. Scary, along with that, is there something that we can put into place that they have to submit the bills by a certain date, or?
I would like to do that, yes.
Okay.
I'll talk to Marty about it. He would be the one who has to
Okay, Councilwoman
do that.
87 is not on the agenda. Can we discuss that?
87-20.
I think that's the one that we just finished discussing.
It's going to be a walk-on, Councilwoman.
So we can still talk about it even though we haven't approved it?
I think she was just saying, she said there will be a walk-on.
No, it's here.
But she said, no, Mr.
So can I
Scary
ask
just
a question then on it?
once it's walked on.
Once it's walked on, but
Yeah,
not yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm saying, Mr. Scary just made a general that there will be a walk-on coming on to deal with records review.
All right. I will hold my question.
Councilman, are we going back to the bill list? There are no questions on the bill list? If not, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned. Do we want to go right into the regular meeting?
Yes.
Going right, okay. Council members, we're gonna take a 3-minute break.
You know it. In this winter, you can put rock and roll. Getting cool if you're sitting in the air conditioning.
This is a regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Orange Township, held in the Council Chamber, City Hall, 29 North Day Street, Orange, New Jersey, on Tuesday, March 17, 2015, immediately following the conference meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to do our roll call. Councilman Coley.
Present.
Councilman Corbett.
Here.
Councilwoman Eason. Here. Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
Present.
Councilman Johnson.
Here.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Present.
And I am present as well. Also present is Margaret Omer from the Clerk's Office, Tia Thomas from the Clerk's Office, Dan S. Smith, City Attorney, Joy Lascaris, the CFO, Kevin Harris, Legislative Research Officer, and various directors. I don't have them written down, but many of I see our Police Director Sims is here, Acting Director Douglas is here. I've already said Ms. Lascari. And if I miss anybody, please charge it to my head, not my heart. The Deputy Municipal Clerk announces that the requirement NJSA 10:4-9 of the Sunshine Law has been met. A notice of this meeting was sent to the Star Ledger and published in the record transcript on July 17, 2014, posted on the bulletin board in City Hall and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk. Right now, we're going to do the approval of minutes. We're going to do December 2nd, 2015 conference and regular meeting.
Motion to adopt.
Motion by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. We are now going to approve the minutes for the minutes for the February 3rd, 2015 conference, regular and executive closed session. Is there a motion to adopt?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilman Harold Johnson. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason. Councilwoman Gordon Butler.
In favor.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. We're moving on to the reports portion of our meeting. The city clerk's office is making a financial report of $201.50. The Department of Planning and Economic Development for the month of February 2015, $98,676. There are no constable reports for January or February. Oprah, there were 41 I'm sorry. There were no reports. No activity. I said January, February, no report, no activity. There was no activity for January, February. Oprah requests, 41 were received, of which 152 items were completed and 7 outstanding requests. Our council reports, library,
No report at this time.
planning,
No report. I think
Housing-
Mr. Mizell did it earlier, so.
thank you, Councilwoman Eason. Housing Authority,
No report.
personnel, no report other than there were interviews this evening for the registered municipal clerk, and that will be continued. Finance, there are none at this time. ABC,
We have some issues, but I'm not gonna discuss them tonight. I have some meetings to set up with the tavern, so we're trying to work through it.
okay. Fire Department,
No report.
Police Department,
None at this time.
I don't think I missed. And we're moving on to communications and petition. There was one communication from Ms. Caitlin Gordon that was received to the clerk's office on March 10th, 2015, and I believe it was also emailed to every council member. Moving on to citizens' comments. Pursuant to section 4-10 of the code of the city of Orange Township, each person addressing the council shall step up to the microphone, shall give his or her name in an audible tone for the record. Unless further time is granted by the presiding officer, shall limit his or her address to 10 minutes. The public is expected to conduct themselves in a proper manner. Any derogatory, abusive, or threatening statements will not be permitted. The chair will immediately rule such conduct out of order and terminate any further comments. Jeffrey Fell.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, a local businessman and attorney whose local business address is 268 Main Street, Orange, New Jersey. As my custom, I have posted various heads-up comments and questions on the city's www.nj.com public website. It was an interesting week last week. The United States Supreme Court and a New Jersey Justice Alito, he's made a slogan that you're going to hear a lot of. Liberty requires accountability. The next day, our state Supreme Court basically told everyone that they will step in if you're denied your constitutional rights, and that occurred in an affordable housing case. These are two major cases. You say, why do I suggest this? Because when you look at the United States Supreme Court case that was decided last week, and I hope our city attorney is paying close attention to this, it talked about, one, the importance of an oath that an elected official takes. In addition, Justice Alito talked about the concept of improper delegation of authority to unelected officials. There's a case that's pending, that's still pending, it's now in the appellate division, since 2008 now. That's Feld 1, because one of the issues is, can the city council delegate the approval authorities of certain 5-year tax exemptions to the unelected tax assessor? This has been an issue. When you look at the trial briefs that were filed by the city, they never addressed the issue. And I can tell you with Justice Alito and the Supreme Court, I think we know how the wind is going to be blowing. And this is something that this council needs to look at. Because not all 5-year tax exemptions are granted as a right. They need to be approved by the city council. And this leads into the budget. This is a Faulkner Act municipality. It's time for every council member to start reading the Faulkner Act about the budget process. And also to read the local finance notice that was issued by the local finance board, where there's a 2-part process. That the budget is supposed to be presented at least 16 days prior to introduction to the city council. That has not occurred. There was a deadline for introduction. That was tonight. And then we hear, oops, there's something missing. Oops, oops, oops. How many times can taxpayers hear oops anymore? Last year, you did not adopt a capped ordinance. You rescinded and restarted the process. There's litigation pending about that, whether it's valid. A lawsuit was filed against the city and against this budget consultant. Neither the city nor the budget consultant filed an answer to that case. Defaults were entered. Within the next 60 days, I intend to file a motion for the entry of default judgments against the city for what happened. We're getting to a very serious point. And that goes back to what the state Supreme Court said. If constitutional rights, they're in our tripartite form of government, the courts will have to step in. And that's where we are. Tonight, it is outrageous that we have not seen a budget. It's outrageous that pursuant to Oprah, again, I can't tell you there's a list. You need to see cumulative how many open Oprah requests there are due to me for the last 2 or 3 years. Pursuant to Oprah, we found out that there's a bond anticipation note and that the closing documents were signed on December 17, 2014. How outside bond counsel could create a certification that our mayor, our CFO, and our deputy clerk signed saying that the capital bond ordinance was approved on June 25th, 2014 is pure negligence. Because this council approved the bond ordinance on July 1st, 2014. For 3 of you, that was your first major act that you did that you approved it. How we can go into the capital markets with a closing document, well, that's false. If I was a first-year associate, I would have been fired on the spot for this carelessness. This is the problem we're having. Oops, we missed a deadline. Oops, we filed a certification. Oops, we issued an offering statement that's materially false. I told you, everyone in this council needs to look at the offering statement that was issued last April in connection to the refinancing. And you say, why do we care about the bond anticipation notes? Because in the bond anticipation notes, there were 2 parts to it. One, we refunded some various other bonds anticipation notes that have been going on for about 10 years. We haven't even started amortizing that. It's about $1 million. Then we went out for another a little more than $2 million to pay for all the equipment that we're paying for, like the fire engines and the public works. But debt service increases. In this new budget, has anyone started figuring out how much more additional interest we have to pay? Or is this going to be at the end of next year that we have to catch up? Where is the December 31st, 2014 financial statement? These are things. These are statutory duties. These are the responsibilities of various people. If they don't perform the responsibilities, you fire them. Because that's what happens in the private sector. It's time for those kind of responsibilities. Remember I said liberty requires accountability. It's time to hold people accountable. Regarding tonight's agenda, we're waiving the 20-day period. What's the emergency to waiving the 20-day ordinance? Unfortunately, Mr. Mays is not here, and we can't find that. Because usually when you have ordinances, they don't go effective for 20 days after publication. Why is there emergency here today? Temporary appropriations, we just keep on going and going and going. As to the Tarver in the Willis Edwards litigation, I think it's time for us to be told how much money we've expended prosecuting and defending that litigation, because there's been a lot of reimbursements to Mr. Edwards' counsel and the various other counsels in that case. In addition, if we are filing an appeal, the appeal runs from a date of an order being entered. Pursuant to Oprah, I received an order that was entered in early January. 45 days would have ran down in February. Is there another order that we're appealing, or we filed an appeal and we're just doing nunc-pro-tunc, ratifying the filing of appeal? I don't know the answer to that, but that's something that we should need to know. Because pursuant to Oprah, I asked her, show me the order that that controls here. It was entered in early January. Under the court rules, there's 45 days from the entry of an order to appeal. Have we missed that appeal time, or have we done it? I think we're entitled to answers because we're the ones that are going to pick up the bills. Interestingly, tonight, we heard a presentation by the planning director. In December, this council made a referral to the planning board. Under state statute, the planning board is supposed to hold that public hearing in 45 days. That 45 days has lapsed. I don't know if they can hold a hearing. And also, I find it offensive that the public hearing on a very important issue is being held on Thursday. That Thursday is Holy Thursday. It's also the eve of Passover. Many people will be leaving town. This is a very important issue. But this is how typically things are done in this community, unfortunately. When something is important, it happens. Like the last meeting during the ice storm, where we heard the presentation about the Type 1 school board, local school board bond ordinance, where the superintendent comes up and says, I got snookered. I got snookered by the administration. I think the people need to hear what's happening to that, and we don't know. I don't know. I don't think, because you had a special meeting the following Friday, I don't think anything happened. But that goes back to making sure our I's are dotted and our T's are crossed, because the project has changed. Because the project that was presented to the public originally was the acquisition of the former police station, and now we're talking about the Maryland school on the border of South Orange. But this is the problem we're having. We have to make sure our I's and T's are crossed. Whether it's a closing document, do we have the right dates in it? We have deadlines. Whether it's a deadline to follow the budget, we need to acquire. Whether it's a deadline, and hopefully the city attorney's making this, if you make promises to a judge that you're going to file pleadings, how many times can you miss those deadlines? If I'm the city council, I'd be very concerned at how many filing deadlines have been missed by the city of Orange Township. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fell. William R. Lewis.
Council President, members of the Orange City Council, my name is William R. Lewis. I live at 688 Morsewood Avenue, and I am confused. But some time ago, I made a statement. I just want to follow up on that. I said, if I'm starting something, please don't try to piggyback on it. So what we had was, and unfortunately Mrs. Stewart isn't here to hear this, but in any event, the thing is that I'm not the smartest guy in the world. My IQ is only 133. One of my computer programmers had a 160. So I don't have any delusions about my abilities. I know where I am. And a lot of times I talk to people and find out if my ideas are worth anything. Sometimes they say no, and I scrap it. But be that as it may, let me just go back to last time. Mr. Fell got up and spoke and said I had forgotten something. And truth is I hadn't. I sent you a letter, a copy of a letter I sent to the mayor. Originally went to the mayor, copies went to the council. And it's about a report that was given to me in the post office, delivered to me at the post office. And I said, you better get your ship in shape. Well, the reason I didn't speak about it is because I wanted to give the cotton picking thing time to get through the mail and make sure you had a chance to look at it, because I don't want to come up here and sandbag it. So anyway, but it was peremptorily interrupted by Mr. Fell and his kindness. He thought he was doing something beneficial. And what happened was exactly what I didn't want to have happen. if you recall, all heck broke loose, arguing and shouting and screaming across the aisle at each other between Mr. Mapp and members of the council, and that's what it wasn't the intent of that. The intent was for you to take your role as a fiduciary outside the meeting and go talk to whoever you had to talk to in the administration and check that thing out and then come back and make a report to the public. Because one of the things you'll learn, one of the things I learned before I even got on the council was you don't want to go after people in public because they get defensive. And they suddenly want to hide and defend themselves. They hate to show any signs of weaknesses. So you got to, I wanted to share that with you, but I'm still looking for that report because I don't understand what the heck was going on because of all the noise and confusion, and it was taken out of context. But let me tell you what one other thing. Your role at the time was, well, we got a letter from Mr. Lewis, Mr. Fell, where do you fall into this? And since we're not prepared, let's hold off on any discussion on this until we get prepared, and then we'll come back and make a professional presentation to the public at large. But anyway, you can't do that when you're ducking hand grenades. A lot of things happen here. Let me say that this whole legislative process is just that, a process. It's a series of events that take place that cause something to happen at the back end. Good legislation, generally. And so you can't just write a piece of legislation, table it, change your mind about it, and then just substitute a new piece. You have to destroy, you have to vote down the original, move over, then you take the new one and you bring it in. So with some of the things I'm going to say, fall into that, I'm just going to say it. I wrote it at, before I heard all this noise tonight. Anyway, some of it came up. One on Ordinance 14, called reducing the term of office for department heads, or temporary, from 90 days to 45 days. That's, I don't know where that came from. Who'd you talk to about that? I'm probably the only person in this room who worked in the ivory tower in a major corporation in America. And then everybody gets 90 days. And if, so, you need to look at that. You can't come up with, well, I have a pen, and so I'll change this, I'll delete this, I'll change it 90 to 45 or whatever the case is. You need a study, that's what I'm saying. Okay, and it'll keep you out of trouble. And find some knowledgeable people to talk to. And they may be people you've never met before. But on Ordinance 15-2015, this was dealing with the committee structure. And I said, when you first started down that route, make only 2 members part of that committee. And that leaves the door open. If the president wants to sit in, the president sits in, no problem. If you make 3, then you go through this dance thing here, where a sitting committee member has to excuse himself and step outside so the president can listen in. You could just handle it up front by only 2 people as members. And let's see. Also on those committees, I said, at the time I said again, they are redundant. The mayor, those are administrative functions that you're looking at. Now, you may need to know something, but and you're busy. No reports tonight because you're busy. But you're busy and you feel that you're overburdened. But what are you doing? So the bottom line is, what did you do to save us some money? What did you do to keep, get the streets clean? What did you do to make sure that the lights are turned on properly? And on and on and on. Okay, that's the bottom line. What am I going to get at? What do I get at? Not you, the council. Most of the legislation, I challenged you once before. I produced 87 pieces of legislation in my time on this council, and I said it wasn't any of this stuff that you see. Most of the things that I've seen coming out here change the schedule so I can get longer to look at the agenda before we ship it out and go to war. Okay, that doesn't count in the 87. I did those things too. The 87 were things that we saved the taxpayers money, and we made the system work better, which shows up in money anyway, more effectively. And see, ordinance 18-2015, this shows a lack of business experience. The council, you have to remember this, is a legislative body, and a clerk follows administrative procedures. And if you take a look at the Orange Administrative Code, Chapter 4, it tells you that. And there was something else that I mentioned to you too. That is that in one of the prior ordinances that you looked at, let me forget it. I forgot about it already. Let me go on to Resolution 81, Women's History Month. No study to support the data that's in there. If you pull stuff out of the paper that says one thing or another, it may be politically biased, it may be educationally biased. The person may not know what the heck you're talking about. The president, our president of the United States, President Obama, made a speech and he talked about this stuff too. It's a political speech. He should have shot his staff, should have fired them. Because women in the White House staff make 80% less, 20% less than the males. And in Hillary Clinton's department, 72% less. The women make 72% less, yet they're all for women. Yay, you know. Be careful when you copy, when you write something. You shouldn't be copying, let me put it that way. The Resolution 82, Robert Tarver, that came up. I'm glad to hear what's going on. But I keep hearing, you said earlier, Council President, we're going to have to go into executive session on this. And you may be using that as a convenient outlook for shielding things from the public. But I understand that you lost a contest in this fight with the mayor. And that's why you need Mr. Tarver, because you want to file an appeal from the judgment made by the court. There should be a report to the public about that. I was involved in an appeal many years ago. I helped write it because I have a legal background. I had that responsibility in my company. I helped file that appeal. And I sat at the council's table. And when the tavern owners sometime later took us to court to say that we couldn't change or roll back the hours that we had extended, I helped prepare the defense for that. I sat at the table, and we went ahead from there, and we won successfully. But it takes work, and it means you got to put, you know, all those books that you get. I told you, don't read the whole cotton picking municipal code. Just read chapter 4. It's about this thing. The book is about that thing. But you ought to know what's in 40, Title 40 and 40A. Why 40 and 40A? And I told you about the differences there. And if you look in there, you'll see again where I quoted that I don't know why you keep looking at East Orange as a guide for what you're going to do. They're the only municipality of its type organized in that fashion in the state of New Jersey. Nobody copies anomalies. That's what we call an anomaly. I should use one of my $5 words on you. But anyway, you need to look at all this stuff that you're doing. Some of that needs to be pulled back and do it the right way. And you need to find out who to talk to in other towns, not necessarily other towns, than Trenton, rather, and other places where you might get some help. And get help. That's the reason why government is in trouble, because people who are not knowledgeable say, "Oh, I'm a law enforcement guy. I'm a legislator. I can write a law." And so you're getting involved in things that's not their doggone business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Jenkins, you no longer want to speak. You spoke already, correct? Darrell Harrington?
That's you, law enforcement.
Good evening,
Good evening.
Council President, ladies and gentlemen of the council, my esteemed neighbors and friends. My name is Darrell Harrington. I reside at 13 Prince Street, Orange, New Jersey. I think I want to deal with the order of, the ordinance 18/2015.
Yes.
Okay, I guess that would be the April, because April one's out here. April, are you asking, because this is just interpretation off of just reading a little line in the passage, do you feel that the responsibilities of council hasn't been brought, it doesn't have a broad enough of a definition, so you want it to be redefined?
Council President?
Councilman Butler?
Yes. No, essentially what that ordinance is doing is, I'm sorry. Essentially what the ordinance is trying to do is not define the powers of the council or the administration, but what it's trying to do is self-empower us to be able to spend our own budget without any barriers. That's essentially what it's doing. It's self-empowering ourselves.
Okay, so.
And what I'm going to do, Mr. Harrington.
Yes, ma'am.
Just put your records, put your questions on the record, and at the end, we'll come back and answer the questions.
Okay. All righty then. Then let me just go to my general statement then.
No, but put your questions in. We'll come back and
No,
answer.
I know you will.
Okay.
Go to the general statement. I would like to commend the administration on the new hiring of Orange's bravest, the firemen that were hired recently. I hope now that the administration now will do likewise with Orange's finest, because we also need more police help in the municipality. We've gone through a trying winter. We've gone through a trying season. I would say that we've gone through a trying couple of years, but I'm not going to waste time with that right now. I would like to commend this body for attempting to get bearing on what it is to legislate. Just understanding and to say that this body is a body of legislators, not administrators. The mayor's job is to administrate. His administration's job is to run the town. You're to govern his running of it. The finances of it, you govern it. You govern the purse strings. The hirings of deputy directors of God knows what. I don't understand how we have so many deputy directors and we've never had them before the existence of the city of Orange Township, and it hasn't done anything for the running of the city of Orange Township. I would just ask you to continue to be diligent about your business as legislators. And that's all I really have for tonight. Take care. God bless you, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Caitlin Gordon.
Good evening, Kathleen Gordon, 211 Park Place. I would like to comment on the introduction of, second introduction of some of these ordinances. Not necessarily because on the part that is new, just because they were available to read, and maybe some of it is what is new. Regarding Ordinance 8/2015, this is about the city clerk position and point B under duties. There are many duties, and one is the records custodian and manager. I am not sure what manager means in that respect, but the records custodian is mentioned. Under that, it describes what the duties are, shall do 1.1.2.7, but there is no description of records custodian. We have talked many times about the problems with the records custodian duties and what we expect and what should be done. So I would, while you are touching this subject, the ordinance, do us a favor and expand on what to expect from the records custodian. For example, it is understood that the records custodian would go every time with every request and check with the city law department whether every single request is okay to release. It is not mentioned in the OPRA Act that the records custodian is trained and certified to do what she needs to do, and it is up to her. So that's one point. The second under paragraph C, subchapter C, clerk shall compile and index. Now, I was just last week at the clerk's office and asked for something by subject. I could not get it because there is no indexing by subject. I was told so by Mrs. Homer, sitting there. So make sure when something is on the books that you review that it is done as it is to be done. Under letter E, the clerk, let me see, that the council shall appoint and the city shall appoint a deputy municipal clerk. Take a close look. Is it a shall or is it a may? Once you have a clerk, a shall means obligatorily appoint a deputy municipal clerk. I don't think that you want that. Going on to Ordinance 19. Everybody has talked about Ordinance 18. Skip it. Ordinance 19, to increase the 2015 calendar year budget by up to 3.5% over the previous year's financial appropriation. I recall that you increased last year's budget also by 3.5%. There is an option there that you don't use up all the 3.5% increase, but you put away some percentage for the following years. But here everything is used up, and the next year an extra 3.5% is required. The statute tells you that the municipality has then a right to automatically increase the budget by either two options, either by the cost of living increase or 2.5%, whichever is less. Now, looking up what the cost of living increase is this year, it is 1.5%, pretty low. So when there is an absolute idea behind this 3.5% and the relative one. 3.5% is 3.5, but it makes a big difference, relatively speaking, when the general cost of living increase is 1.5%, and then you ask to increase it to 3.5. That's more than doubling the automatic part. Other years, I don't know, 5 years ago, when the cost of living was automatically 3.2%, then it was not such a big difference. Take a close look whether it is absolutely necessary, and particularly why it is necessary that when the cost of living increase is relatively low. Please take a look and try to, if you could, respond to this question. I would like to reflect on what happened at the last meeting when I spoke about the snow removal. I have spoken in the past about my impressions of what I saw in my street about snow removal. But recently, there has been a subcommittee created for a snow removal subcommittee. And the last time I reported on what the subcommittee said, I was very short because we were asked to be short. I came back with that the center of the streets were plowed reasonably, but the part up to the sidewalk on each side has not been done well, and the subcommittee reported that parts of the walkways were frozen. Now, I am just repeating this for background. What happened immediately, Mr. Hathaway came up from the Public Works Department and said that the Public Works works very hard, which I don't disagree with at all, but maybe not smart enough. Because the
Excuse me, Ms. Gordon.
Yes, ma'am.
You have 1 more minute.
Okay, thank you. The second part was that Councilwoman Eason spoke up about, and she mentioned that one needs torch blowers after everything is frozen up. But the point is that the public, the homeowners are required to not wait until everything is frozen, but remove it. And snow and salt is better than torch blower. But the point I am trying to make is that this council has to decide what it wants. For us to report and then be rebuffed is completely useless. Either you are interested in the citizens' feedback or you are not. So please make a decision about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Elizabeth Jackson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Elizabeth Jackson, 96 Elm Street. I came tonight so I could begin to start participating again in the city. So I only came to the council meeting to sit, listen, and learn. But the reason I'm coming forward is, and again, no disrespect to Councilwoman Eason, but at the beginning of the meeting, the councilwoman, and I don't know the gentleman's name from the city, was talking about the noise ordinance. And I have been working with my councilman, Coley, as soon as he came in office, because I have a serious issue of noise in my community. So I think one of the issues is there are some neighborhoods where you don't have serious noise, and there are others that you do. I have to say thank you to the police department, because anytime I do call, they do come, they do turn it down. I've studied the ordinance. As many of you know, I've worked in the city for many, many years, so a lot of the ordinance I do understand. I disagree with that the noise can be till 10 o'clock, because if you're sitting in your house at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, now I personally like Natalie Cole, and I'm listening to soft Natalie Cole, and then all of a sudden my windows start vibrating. I don't want to wait till 10 o'clock at night. One of my issues in my community is my loud music, not mine, but the loud music in my community starts 8 a.m. in the morning. I'm not going to be calling the police all day long. Many of you know I'm one that if I bring you an issue, I'm going to try to bring you a solution. So I've already met with my councilman, and I did my own personal research. I don't have it tonight because I didn't plan to speak tonight, but I will put a packet together because I found a town in California that had the same issue. And I heard the gentleman said $3,000 to train the officers to be able to say that the volume is so loud that you can turn it down. All I have to do is close my eyes, you know, and I can tell it's loud. I don't like being disturbed when I'm reading a book. I don't like being disturbed when I'm taking a nap. I have senior citizens on my block. I have people that have just come out of the hospital. So why should we wait till 10 o'clock at night? So the councilman has been kind enough to meet with me, and then he met with another one of my neighbors. My other neighbor wrote a letter, but she didn't write it to this city. Did she ever send a copy to you, sir?
Yes.
Okay. She wrote it to the East Orange mayor, because we borderline East Orange, and one of the neighbors is East Orange. When I read her letter, it almost made me want to cry because of the conditions that she's under, listening to this loud music and having to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. So I'm standing here tonight to say, no disrespect to anyone on the council that's saying it's okay in their community. It's not okay in mine. I can also tell you I go to a lot of community meetings, and people are complaining about loud noise. So I think what I'd like to do is bring a new proposal before the board, and again, like I said, I'll make copies. Hope it can go on the agenda. You can take it in consideration, and one of the things would be that we shouldn't have to call the police. If a police officer's riding down the street and windows are vibrating, we would like to see them tell these people to turn it down. I don't have a problem with that first chance. Come, tell them turn it down. But if they don't turn it down, then they need to turn it off. And last but not least, I agree with Ms. Gordon. I'm on the snow committee. And one of the things that I'd like to see our committee to do, if the council wants the committee, is that we start in late summer looking at the issues, bringing the subject to you. Because I can tell you, I joined the gym on Main Street. That's on Bell Street, Main and Bell. I had to walk in the street. Every morning I went to that gym at 7 o'clock in the morning or 7:30. The sidewalk from Main all the way down to past the parking lot going towards Bell Stadium was a sheet of ice. I'm not going to mention no addresses, but on my block, there were sheets of ice. I pay somebody to shovel. I get out there and put salt. I think every resident should have a bag of salt, and when the snow gets down, they should put the salt, because there was a lot of ice in this city. Thank you very much.
Okay, one second. I'll add you to the book. William Hathaway.
Members of the City Council, I'm gonna be up to the point. I'm a citizen of Orange. Okay, whenever I come up to this mic, I come up as a resident of Orange. Last meeting, Mrs. Gordon has a right to come to a public meeting and to criticize Public Works. I do not come here as an employee. I come here as a citizen. So, as a citizen of Orange, I would like tonight to ask the City Council in support of the Central Playground improvement. That's what I'm speaking about. So I'm encouraging the City Council to support ordinance number
4-2015. This is in regards to the appropriation of $102,000 capital improvement. In reference to, I'd like to commend our fire director, acting fire director Douglas, in reference to the hiring of new firemen in the city of Orange. Thank you very much to the administration and the council, and have a good evening.
We have one person, Ms. Cooper, left, so that will conclude our citizens' comments. Is there a motion to close citizens' comments?
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes, ma'am.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Going back to answering questions, Mr. Hathaway, I will tell you that Ms. Gordon sits on the Public Works Committee, so when she makes comments, her comments are probably, no, you can have a seat. No, you can't respond. You can't respond. But I just want to, when so she's speaking from a committee perspective. Okay, I just want you to know.
Thank you.
You can't build. You call me all day.
Security.
Ms. Jackson, thank you for the noise ordinance, and I was not here when Vinnie from the health department spoke about that. I know, and I will also encourage and Councilman Johnson, because they have a good system in their neighborhood how they do it, and I don't know if he brought that up because I was not here, but to include, I think that would be helpful. And the snow removal, I think that will be an ongoing. I think right now we need to get into it, but I think it does need to start in late fall. I think every council member agrees. Regarding the CAP ordinance, Mr. Matt? There's a request to increase the calendar year by 3.5%, and Ms. Gordon made reference to the cost of living this year is 1.5, so that will be upwards of 2%. Could you explain why we're using 3.5 and maybe not 1.5 or 2%?
Because this is this is Adrian Mapp, Director of Finance. This is a protection that the state allows municipalities where the appropriation cap is normally increased by roughly 1.5%. What the cap bank does is that it allows you to make provisions just in case the pressures of your appropriation requires you to raise it by more than the 1.5%. This is similar to the ordinance that was done last year and is done by almost every municipality every year.
Now, her question is, why isn't it more in line with the cost of living?
No, it has nothing to do with that.
No, that was her question. So
yeah,
okay.
it has nothing to do with that. This is by statute.
Okay.
The appropriation cap is, you're usually allowed to increase it by, and I'm trying to find the ordinance, by 1.5%.
19-2015.
But this ordinance, and there's something called a cap bank. So what is not used goes into a bank just in case you need to use it in any of the following 2 years. So this ordinance is just about identical to the one that we omitted to introduce prior to the introduction of the 2014 budget, which caused the budget to have to be reintroduced subsequent to the adoption of the cap bank ordinance. So this is very typical of what is done during the budget process in every municipality in New Jersey.
So, and will every municipality introduce it at 3.5%, generally?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Then I don't think I have anything. If I do, I'll call you back up. Regarding 8-2015, defining the RMC, the custodian, Mr. Harris, do you want to speak to that? The expectations of the custodian, does that need to be in that ordinance? Or if it's already in the state statute, it's understood?
Good evening, members of council. Kevin Harris, Legislative Research Officer. Yes, the state statute 40A:9-133, New Jersey statutes, does outline the core duties of the municipal clerk and the functions of each of the core duties. So that is already defined by state statute.
And you could say that Mr. Harris or Mr. Smith, Ms. Gordon also asked in terms of the clerk referring open requests to the law office. Is that up to the clerk's discretion? Is a requirement by your office?
All open requests should go to the law department.
Can you speak in the microphone and say that again, please?
Said all open requests should be reviewed by the law department.
And that's pretty much a twofold purpose, members of council and members of the public. The clerk, in doing that, is essentially ensuring many things. One, that the documents requested are in fact public records, public government records that should in fact be disclosed. And number two, if they are public records, do they fall within one of the allowed exemptions, either by statute or some other order, that prevent or do not require their disclosure? So the municipal attorney should always be consulted prior to the release of an open request.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I think we all concur, the council concurs that we should hire more police, and we appreciate the new firemen as well. Councilwoman Gordon Butler, Mr. Former Councilman Lewis made reference to your amendment to the resolution in terms of the temporary, the 90-day. Can you discuss your amendments to that area? Does it speak to 90-day or does it speak to another area?
In a previous draft, it had 45 days, but I think it was returned to the 90 days.
And what is,
It's 90 days.
It's 90 days.
Exactly what amendments are you making? Is this just where
For-
that the council, the quarterly, or just to the quarterly, that
Right.
the council speaks to the quarterly?
It's to the directors reporting at least on a quarterly basis to the council, and I guess initially in a written form, but then followed up with oral recitation as well as Q&A from the council if necessary.
Okay. Regarding Mr. Mapp, Mr. Mays is not here, and on 74-2015, he's requesting that the 20-day waiting period be waived. Do you know why, would the need that the 20 days be waived?
I'm not sure why Mr. Mays has made that request. The statute allows that if you deem it to be of an emergent nature, that you're able to adopt a resolution to not have to go through the estoppel period, which is usually 20 days after the ordinance has been published. And I can't speak as to why,
And
there was a need for that resolution.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I think that is it. And with that, council members, do we have any comments? Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Okay. I'll be brief. I would like to thank everyone for your concern about the health of my baby. As many of you may know, on March 3rd, before the last council meeting, he had 3 seizures back to back, and a temperature of 105. So He was hospitalized for 4 days, which is why I missed the last council meeting. But I do appreciate your concern. On March 11th, I hosted my third South Ward meeting at Hayward Avenue School, and our very own acting fire director came, and just like tonight, he was joined with various firefighters. And as a teacher, you know, I'm judged by my students and the parents. When they support me, it speaks volumes, and I know I can speak for the rest of the council that we do want our firefighters to be happy with who their leader is. And as a wife of a firefighter, I thought I really understood your job and all of the things that it entails until the Central Place fire. And that is when I can honestly say I tip my hat to you. Acting Director Douglas, your professionalism and how you led your men was remarkable. I myself have never been in that situation, and just to see all the people moving, everyone knew what they were doing. It was really, aside from the tragedy, how it was handled. I have a lot of respect for the Orange Fire Department and the 13 other mutual aid. I'm just going to say I'm excited to vote tonight. I'm definitely voting in your favor. I want that on record. Orange is lucky to have you. We love supporting our own. We love supporting people from Orange, and all of that's great. But I'm more so trying to support people that are qualified for the job, because to me that's more important than where you reside. So with that being said, I'm going to say congratulations early.
Council members? Councilman Corbett?
Council President, I'm not going to say anything of any length. There were two issues that
No, just kidding. Go ahead.
There were two issues that I wanted to discuss, but no one from the administration is here to entertain it, and that's the why. I wanted to know where we are with that topic, and if we're going to have any further discussions on it. And two, the parking meters. So hopefully, the next council meeting we'll have someone from the administration here that can entertain those two items. Thank you.
Thank you. You're not coming back? You done?
I'm done. I'm not coming back. That's it.
Basketball and all that, you're done. Okay, Councilwoman.
Yeah, just to respond to Councilman Corbett, and I guess we need to get an email to you. The next council meeting should include a presentation about the why, the updates, and how they're going to acquire it, and also on the parking meters. So that should be matters for discussion for the next council.
Let me interject right there. I'll ask Chris Mobley to be here regarding the parking meters. Councilman Coley, I'm going to let you take the lead on the why and see what has to be done with that.
That's already been decided, Councilwoman. The mayor just has to give you a date. They're going to present already. Okay. They're going to present next council meeting.
They're going to present to the public?
No, they're going to present matters for discussion.
To the public?
Yes.
Okay.
On what their intentions are. There's two things I want to talk about, and the first one is going to be about the council itself. Everything that we do is guided by state statutes, legislation, and resolutions. There's nothing that the council can do outside of those walls, I'll say. One of the things I want to talk about real quick is the loud music. Previously, the loud music cutoff was 8:30 at night. There was a resolution which moved it to 10 o'clock, and it was passed by the council because of the complaints from the residents. So that's why that change happened. Now, they talk about decibel. In order for us to have a decibel that the music can be at, it first has to be legislated what the decibel is, and then we can move forward with trying to put a resolution or ordinance together to enforce it. I mean, there's certain steps we have to take, because as we all complain and we talk about things, we also got to realize that the residents moving into Orange also have rights. And I don't say they have a right to play their music, because on High Street and where I am, sometimes I come home at night, it used to happen, I would bounce it off of my bedroom walls, 5 o'clock in the evening. But one of the things I call is when is called Stop It Before It Gets Too Bad, which we would go over and talk to the resident and let them know that's not happening in our neighborhood. I tell the residents all the time, if somebody moves next to you and they're playing loud music, let's count and knock on their door as the first step and say, we're not having, or you send the police over there to say that so they can curl it. Nip it in the bud. Because if you the longer you let it continue, the worse it gets. So I've had the same, but like they said, the law on the books says 10 p.m. and that's what the cops enforce. They can't enforce anything other than that. They could come in and go over there and knock and say, would you reduce your music? As soon as they leave, they turn it up. They go back, and I tell them all the time, go back. The second time, give them a summons, because that's what people pay attention to. So we really have to look at that and decide what the legislation is going to be. We just can't automatically say nobody can play music all day long, because everybody in this city has rights. We just got to do some things by law that keeps us out of trouble. And I want to address the letter that we got from Ms. Gordon. Just so I'm clear and that we all are clear, a committee is set up to be an arm of the council, not to operate it on its own, but to be an arm to go in session, make recommendations, come back to the council, and present those recommendations. And as for there are no voting members in the committee. It's compiled the information, brings back to the council, we evaluate, and then we vote on it. And that's by statute, and that hasn't changed. It's so much that's happening today in this municipal environment that's not by the statutes, not by the law, but nobody can go off and do their own thing. And just for Ms. Gordon to know, there is no such thing as an ad hoc committee. Council president can't create that. It has to be created by legislation through the council. If you have a public works committee, the members that are already appointed by the council can say, we want to put a committee together to deal with snow. But there's no such thing as our president saying, you want an ad hoc committee, you want an ad hoc committee. Somebody has to appoint you, and it has to be done through a resolution. That's the way we always operate it. And if somebody knows something different that's not of the law, then I need to know that. So a committee can't have a voting. It's just for you to discuss, make some recommendations, figure out how you want this city to run, but every ward has to be represented on that committee, every ward. So I don't know where the notion comes that there is the council's director and council voting members. There are no such thing as voting members. Everybody works on it together. And the snow committee has to come out of the people that were appointed by the council. There's no such thing as Councilwoman Williams saying, I want you to be on this committee, I want you. We have laws that we had to abide by, and we have things that is approved in statute, and so go back and read the statutes on committee. Pull it up online and it's explained. And not only that, most of them we have, but the committee is operating illegally because you got to have council and residents from the town on every committee. Has to be compiled. And if you want to know the facts, read them, and it'll tell you that. So I don't know where this letter came from, but everything that's on here, and committee does not have bylaws because we cannot create a subset of municipal council. We can't do that. You can't operate as a body and have the same voting and the same thing that they can. I'm an elected official, and my North Ward residents pay me to do that. So I represent them. And the committee is just the offset of, if I want to appoint somebody to the Public Works Committee to represent me, then that's fine. But you can't create another committee. It's illegal and you can't do that. So, but we have to make sure that we as a council and committees are operating consistent with our codes that are set, legislated by law and by statute. And that being said, that's all I have. Oh, one other thing. Mrs. Harmon, one of our, who was a principal at Cleveland Street, the high school, lost her husband. So we'll pray for that family. The funeral is tomorrow at 11 o'clock at St. Paul's in Montclair. So please keep her in your prayers. She was dedicated. I think she worked in the city for 30 years. So she is one of us, even though she lives in Montclair. So I was a little sad because I couldn't make the wake tonight because of the council meeting, but I plan to go to the funeral. But so let's keep her in your prayers. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson?
Council President, thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to get back on the 2015 budget season once again, because kind of perplexed. I need to ask Mr. Mapp a couple of questions.
Mr. Mapp?
Good evening, Director Mapp.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Wonderful, thanks.
Good, good. I see you sent us a letter today that was a little confusing to me, but at least you attempted to get us focused on doing our end of the budget, I guess. In conversation, you mentioned at a previous meeting that the administration is not interested at all in doing transitional aid. You eloquently explained that to us, that there was restrictions involved, and now with being pro Cap Bank, I'm wondering why we're getting the resolution on that in March. Is this something you could have did in January?
The Cap Bank ordinance, is that your question?
Yes.
The Cap Bank ordinance has to be introduced prior to the introduction of the budget. And so introducing it at this time gives you plenty of time. The only requirement is that it be introduced prior to the introduction of the budget.
Okay, well, the budget was supposed to be introduced tonight?
The budget, according to the state statute and according to the director of the division, any budget that was introduced by tonight would have been considered to be introduced on time.
Okay. So in theory, this could have been introduced in February.
What?
The resolution, the ordinance for the Cap Bank.
It could have been introduced on January 1st, January 2nd, and could have been introduced any time prior to the introduction of the budget.
Okay, if it's introduced tonight, is that holding the budget up like well into April on the introduction of the budget and going into April?
The introduction of this ordinance tonight fulfills a need on the part of the city to have a Cap Bank available to take appropriation pressures off the city. So introducing this budget tonight will not in any way impact on the schedule that was provided in the memo that was sent to the governing body.
I think you missed my point.
Please clarify.
Or you can help me clarify. In order to introduce a budget for 2015, this governing body has to pass this resolution for the Cap Bank if the administration wants to use that as a tool.
That's correct.
So therefore, what I'm saying, this has to go in for approval after it's passed by the division of local government.
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Once we pass the ordinance, what does the administration do with it?
Once the ordinance is adopted, it allows us to create the Cap Bank up to a maximum of 3.5% in the event that the appropriations in the calendar year 2015 budget would exceed the prior year's budget by more than 1.5%. We would need to dip into that bank. If that bank does not have enough left over from a previous bank, this 3.5% gives us more room. Let's, for example, say that increases for hiring police, for whatever those expenses that you deem to be necessary for the operation of the city exceeds that 1.5% of the appropriations cap. Then, by adopting this ordinance, it gives you a cushion to go into this bank in order to meet the needs of the city by being able to exceed that 1.5% that you otherwise would have been limited to. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it.
Director Mapp,
yes.
Does the administration have to take this adopted ordinance and get approval by any other agency?
Absolutely not. It is for you, the governing body, to approve prior to the introduction of the budget.
Okay, so what held up the budget being introduced tonight?
I believe I sent you a letter.
That's poor planning.
Okay.
I think we well into, I guess this is your third season as finance director, and our CFO's been around since the Hawkins administration. I think one of the things that we hear from the general public is they get frustrated because these manufactured excuses by our professionals. Everybody's got an excuse. Every season, there's another level of excuses when stuff can be avoided just by proper planning. Am I speaking the truth?
I'm not going to debate you.
Okay. Council President, I am finished.
And then, that complete all your questions?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Cornbella?
Council President, yes, I have two quick comments. The first one is with regards to the broadcasting of these meetings. I think I read in an article in the Orange Transcript last week that in a couple of months they'll be back online. I want to say thank you to the administration, but I certainly want to know the details of the reappearance of them. And secondly, I'd like to say happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you.
Councilman Coleman?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. I just have a few comments. We know this has been a hard season with the snow. However, the snow is pretty much gone, and it has left a ton of debris and trash throughout the entire city. At some point, there should have been an aggressive campaign or effort from the administration, to combat some of these issues regarding the trash that has been left over from the snow and this past winter. Also, the traffic light at Main and Oakwood. It's been over a month. That traffic light it was hit, laid in the snow, mountains of snow. Now the snow is gone, and the traffic light has been laying on the corner of Main and Oakwood for a number of weeks now. That traffic intersection, Main and Oakwood, Main and Hilliard, almost every day, all through the day, there are net accidents because it's only like one working traffic light. And if you're traveling north and south on Oakwood Avenue, that traffic light is not working. So I made a request. I made a request with Public Works. This is going on some weeks now to have that issue resolved. And the only thing that I see was some orange cones put up over the electrical wiring. That traffic light has to be fixed. It must be fixed. It just make our city look horrible, because that's the first thing you see when you're coming westbound on Main Street is a traffic light that's been sitting down in the snow for weeks. And also, if you go further down to Main and Parkman and Oakwood, that traffic light has been inoperable for quite some time. I don't know how and why it takes so long just to get simple things done. And Mr. Mapp, you had made a comment about appropriation pressures. What was the appropriation pressures from last year?
I don't understand your question.
Well, you had made a comment about the appropriation pressures. That kind of dictates the cap bank from increasing from what the cost of living is, which is 1.5% up into that 3.5% to give you that cushion. You said the reason why you do that is because of appropriation pressures. And I just asked you what was the appropriation pressures from last year to make us have to pass that cap bank ordinance last year.
Oh, you want to take me back to last year's budget?
Well, what was the appropriation pressure that you said that was the reason for the cap bank?
Let me clarify my statement. The cap bank ordinance that you have before you is to provide an amount in the bank that you can draw from if you need it. If, for example, the budget that the administration puts together when one considers increases for health benefits, increases for insurance, increases for contractual obligations, if those increases in 2015 exceed 1.5% of the total appropriations in 2014, you have a problem. So if you don't have that cap bank available to you, you have to make or take some drastic measures which could endanger the city. So the reason for the cap bank is simply that. It's a bank that you can go to and draw from if you need it.
Okay, thank you. You made it clear. Now, what do you anticipate being our appropriation pressures for this budget year?
Costs increase every year. There's a significant increase in health benefit costs. Insurance costs will increase. And when we get to the final product, meaning a budget, we will know whether or not or how deep we would have to dip into a cap bank in order to give you a budget that is within the statutory guidelines. I don't know the answer right now, whether or not we would need or how much from the cap bank we would need in order to give you a balanced budget within the appropriation guidelines as per statute.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Coley, does that conclude your remarks?
Yes, Council President.
Also, one last thing while I was on trash. The trash around outside the police department, that also needs to be corrected as well. Thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Galt Butler.
Yes, I just wanted to add my 2 cents. I concur with Councilman Coley. I had spoken with Public Works as well with regards to the Oakwood Hillier Main Street intersection, and because I had been almost involved in 2 near misses at that traffic light as well, and so it does need to be addressed. Thank you.
At the last, Councilman Coley.
One last thing, I apologize. We need to establish, I know there's no official administrative representative here tonight, but we need to put together some type of a report regarding work orders. When work orders are put in through the city and through citizens, we never gets to hear what those work orders are and if they are followed through. I put a work order in 6 months ago for 2 street signs, and they haven't been followed through. And it's like there is like no follow up. So we need to get a handle on work orders. When work orders are requested, when work orders are completed, it should be some report, letting the council know that these things are done, so citizens doesn't continually to get frustrated when they say they call and things are just not getting done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think I'll go right into that. Kind of speaks to the ordinance that Councilwoman Galt Butler is amending, and perhaps somewhere down the line you can amend it in terms of the directors, amend it a little bit more specific in terms of the public works, and because that's an area that has a constant request and a report, and there are often times where many of us have come up and asked for the same thing, and we're not, case in point would be a vehicle maintenance list, and that comes out of that department. So maybe we can continue to amend that portion of the ordinance to kind of put a time on work orders on, and how they're presented to this council. The fire department's busy.
No, they're not. They're all sitting here.
Yes, Councilwoman. You asked the director, did our maintenance contractor start for cleaning?
Did the maintenance contract start?
Did they start working?
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Yes, they have. And Director Sims, since you're here, can you report back to Councilman Coley in terms of that area in front of the police station being cleaned, or if you communicated, it's not. I mean,
That's a public work.
No, I'm just saying,
issue.
can he communicate it to the administration? I'm very aware of that. I don't expect him to be out there with a broom. No, okay. I don't either. At last council meeting, the weather was very challenging, so I did reserve my remarks for this council meeting, and I'll still keep them very limited. But I live on Central Place, and the night of the fire at 197 Central Place, and the houses on each side of 197, 195, and 201 that also caught on fire as a result of 197. It was a very cold night, and it was a very, very challenging night. But it's just something about challenging times brings communities together. And that night, every facet of the Orange community was out there. Every department I was well represented, and if you weren't from the department, everybody was doing something. And as sad as the occasion it was, there was a feeling of looking out and seeing that the Orange community come together to make sure things were taken care of. I specifically, you know, when you're 18 and 16 and 17 years old, you tend to hang out more than when you're a little bit older. And I'm thankful for those young men on that cold night that were hanging outside, because they were the ones who reported the fire. They were the ones who started going over there and trying guiding people, the kids to the door. And specifically Daryl Mayfield, who caught the older brother and had him and told him to jump from the window, and he caught him as he fell from the 3rd floor into the roof and caught him, and they sat there with him. And those young men were out there all night seeing what they could do, whatever they needed to do. And I want to thank the Harmony Bar as well, because they allowed their facility to be turned into an emergency facility. They allowed the family to go into one area and to get warm, as opposed to sitting in their car where they were originally sitting, as well as the young lady directly across, Miss Kim, who lived directly across on 197 Central Place. So a lot was going on, very emotional night, and I know I probably was sick. I have asthma, and you don't think about yourself when you're running into things, but it was, and I talked to Acting Director Douglas and Captain Padilla. I was like, I don't know how you do it, because I was probably tasting smoke a week later. So I laugh at, smile when people often comment about firemen and salaries they make, and I remember being a young person as a council person, when I had somebody make that comment, I knew at that moment to turn around and ask an administrator, have you ever ran into a burning building? And while I didn't run into a burning building, I was in a lot of smoke that night, and that's a very, very hectic situation. So thank you for what you do. I thank our police officers who sat out there, and everybody from emergency management. It was a team effort. We have a local organization, Mr. Williams, and I can't think of the other gentleman's name, Mr.
Roger.
Mr.
Rogers?
I thought you wasn't gonna say nothing else. Go ahead, Mr. Roger. What's the name of the organization?
I don't know the name of it.
But what's Roger Hinton? They have a local organization, and while a lot of us may be focused on one thing, they're focused on many things. And talking to Mr. Hinton as service will continue to be rendered to the people that were affected on Central Place, Mr. Hinton was still dealing with the fire that had happened down here on Day Street. Then they were dealing with Central Place, and then the fire, and they had the people at the Ramada Inn, and then people came in from North. And that one time did they say to the people, oh, well, I only can help people from Orange, I only can help this person. They were helping everybody. So when you look at local organizations, and the Red Cross, everybody was here. The Red Cross was here. We have to, you know, look at all the organizations, but one that was right here on the ground that belongs to us was Mr. Hinton and Mr. Williams' organization that did everything from feed the people daily to give them clothes to pay for their hotel rooms until people were able to get assistance. Also, we lost, one of our mothers went on to glory, Barbara Ann Wright, the mother of Vicky, Lisa, and Fella Wright, or Elisa, Victoria, and what's fella's name? Good Lord. We call Ralph. We call Fella forever. Their mom, and she was buried on, they chose to, she relocated down south, and they chose to bury her down south where she relocated to, but in North Carolina, and they buried her this past Saturday. But you know Coach Vicky, who is the all-time winning basketball team. I don't think there's any other team but Oakwood Avenue, but they're always winning. All the
Parks is an issue.
You used to talk Cleveland, that's what I said. But if you see them, give them, you know, a hug. They've always been in the community. And Miss Aunt Barbara, as we will call her, she was active in the school system or just a mother in the Orange community. I also handed out a summary that I just handed out to the council, but it will be going on the table going forth with ordinances. And it's just simply, and everybody should have it in front of them, it's an interpretive statement for all of the ordinances. Generally, there is a purpose statement at the end of the ordinance, but I know where you're flicking through the pages, sometimes you can't get to the gist of what are the basic changes. So I asked Mrs. Smith to create this memo that will be going out for every meeting along with the agenda to give everybody an interpretive statement for each ordinance. So we'll simply know what the ordinance goal is to achieve, because oftentimes the ordinance is written up and it has the current entire ordinance in there, but the strike-throughs are generally the areas of changes, and that's where you should hone on in. And also keeping, we haven't seen Ms. Stewart here in a while. Ms. Stewart's husband has been sick. He's in the hospital, and she's a faithful council member and council member attendee of the meeting. But keep her, and she will be here. I know she gets her calls in during the week, so please keep her on thought. So it's a time for her to be with her family right now. Regarding the committees, an ad hoc committee is just that. It's something that's convened for the moment. The Public Works Committee is the Public Works Committee. Their job isn't to solely do one thing. Their job is to kind of assist Public Works. And in terms of a snow plan, there was a lot to do, and we have had a lot of snow, and we keep putting it off and putting it off. So the ad hoc committee was just created for just to give people to come together to assist with the snow committee. It's a one-time thing. They're not permanent. They're just to assist the Public Works in the area of snow. I know Josh was asking some people to participate, and people were not participating. So I did take the liberty to reach out to people in the community, and I did not just consider one area. There was a person on there from the East Ward, the West Ward, South Ward, and also Ms. Gordon, who was appointed to the Public Works Committee. And there still could be more people, because she's the person who out of the Public Works Committee who actually had a plan where they can start working off of and perfect it for each area. But it was simply so that the Public Works Committee would not get buried down into doing all snow, and they can get some relief to do other things while the ad hoc committee can be addressing the snow committee, the snow plan in the city of Orange. Now, for me as a council person, it's important that the city, last census, the city of Orange was roughly about 30,000 people. Prior to that, it was at 33,000 people. So we stay between 30 and 35,000 people. So, in 2.2 square miles. So there are a lot of people here in the city who have something to offer. Some have greater long things to offer, some just a little tidbits to offer. And I think that it's all helpful. And when people come to me, and what I've been accustomed to doing is usually in my place of employment or committees I served on, when you come up with an idea, you usually own that idea and you chair that portion. And it's nothing more or nothing less than when people come up with an idea for us to bring their ideas to the table and for each of us to reach one and to help our community to be the better community that we can be. I think it's very important that we have citizen input and that we honor when our citizens want to have input and respect what they have to say. But again, the ad hoc snow committee was simply to start to get the snow plan going and to help the public works committee. With that being said, we're going to move the agenda. We are on, and just for, as a matter of, we're going to ordinances, and then we're going to go to the consent agenda, but as a matter of, we will be postponing 82-2015 to give council members some time to reach out to Mr. Tarver and have conversations that they may need to have, or with Mr. Smith if they think they need to have it with Mr. Smith. So we can keep moving forward, I am going to take this opportunity to suspend the rules and add 86 and 87 to the consent agenda. Is it just two? So I need a motion to add 86 and 87 to the consent agenda. I'm sorry?
Those are resolutions, right?
I'm just adding them to the consent agenda so we can keep moving.
We did that at the consent agenda, not doing.
You can do it. We can suspend the rules now, Councilwoman. Then we can just keep moving. I'm asking for a motion now to remove it. Can I have a motion to suspend the rules to add these to the consent agenda?
Motion.
Motion
Second.
by Councilman Coley, second by Councilman Johnson. And again, we're adding 86-2015 is a resolution confirming the appointment of Kenneth M. Douglas as a director of fire for the city of Orange Township, and 87-2015, a resolution for the transfer of appropriation. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Sure.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
Yes.
Councilman Williams, and I am in favor as well. So the consent agenda goes up to 87 now. 86 being the adding of a director, and 87 is a transfer. Going to our ordinances, we're on ordinance for second reading. Is there a motion to lift 2-2015 from the table? Seeing none, moving to 4-2015. This is a capital ordinance appropriating $102,000 from the capital improvement fund to pay for the improvements to basketball courts at Central Avenue Park in and by the city of Orange Township in the county of Essex. This is a second reading. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard on this?
Motion to close.
Motion to close the public.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
In favor.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. Motion to adopt
Move.
on final reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler on the motion. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
Yes.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Gordon Butler?
In favor.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. Ordinance passes. Moving to 5-2015, an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 200, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 200-52-1, Handicap Parking Spaces, 206 North Center Street. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard?
Motion to close.
Motion to close by
Second.
Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. Motion carries. This is a motion to adopt on final reading. Councilman Coley. I need a motion to adopt.
Move.
Second.
I'm sorry, Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
In favor.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. Moving to 6-2015, an ordinance to,
Just did it.
Councilwoman Eason,
2015.
we're on 6-2015.
Just did 5.
An ordinance to amend the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 200, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 200-52-1, Handicap Parking Spaces, 162 Summer Street, East Side. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard?
Motion to close.
Motion
Second.
closed by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. This is a motion to adopt.
Move.
Final reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. Moving to 7-2015. This is an ordinance to amend the code of the City of Orange Township, Chapter 200, entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Section 200-52-1, Handicap Parking Space, 765 Valley Street, Apartment Number 34, South Side. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard?
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. I need a motion to adopt on final reading.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. Moving to 8-2015, an ordinance amending Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township entitled Administration of Government, amending the duties of the Office of the City Clerk. Is there anybody from the public that would like to be heard from you?
Motion to close.
Motion
Second.
closed by Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
And I am in favor as well.
Motion to adopt on first reading.
We're moving to
Second.
we're going to 14-2015. 14. What you doing?
We didn't file.
I'm sorry. Motion to adopt on final reading. I apologize.
It's been motioned and
Councilman
second.
Corbett and second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. Right? Is there a
Yes.
second by Councilwoman? On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. Moving to the first ordinance on introduction, first reading, 14-2015. Before we go into the first Attorney Smith, we're good with everything?
We're gonna go, I thought we were gonna go into session on, but 14, 15's fine, but
You're gonna wanna go into session on 18-2015 to an executive session?
14 and 18.
You wanna go into an executive session on 14 and 18? All right, so we're gonna hold off on, and we're gonna go to 15.
What about 17? Was it a conversation to pull that one?
Yes, I'm gonna remove that one.
okay.
That's gonna be postponed. 17 is postponed. So, on 15, this is an ordinance amending Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township entitled Administration of Government, amending the section regarding council committees. Is there a motion to adopt on first reading?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. On the motion, seeing none, roll call, Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
No.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
And I am not in favor. The motion passes. The public hearing will be on April 21st, 2015. Moving to 19-2015. An ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits to establish a bank in accordance with NJSA 40A:4-45.14.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt by
Second.
Councilman Corbett, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion, seeing none, roll call, Councilman Coley.
No.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
No.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
And I am in favor. The motion carries. The public hearing will be on April 21st, 2015. We have to do an executive session. Councilwoman Gaunt Butler, is this something that we can wait to do an executive session at a later date? Or do you want to do it tonight?
No, I don't want to postpone. We can do it tonight.
Can we wait to the end of?
I mean, I'm going to wait to the end.
Yes.
Yeah,
Let's keep going.
to the end.
It's gonna take a couple
At
of
the
minutes.
end.
Let's keep
Okay.
going. I'm gonna do it tonight, then give up another evening.
Right.
Well, we have to come back for another executive session, so, we're going to the consent agenda and we'll come back to the first introduction on first reading. So we're on the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Council members, do you wish to move anyone?
Yes.
Council President.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
Yes, 73, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
74, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
76, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
80, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
82, 2015. Oh, that's removed? Is that removed?
82 is postponed.
It's postponed. And 85, 2015.
Councilman Corbett,
86, 2015.
is that it?
That's it.
Councilmember, are there any other? What is being removed for a separate vote, just for clarification, is 73, 2015, 74, 75, 76, 80. 82 is being postponed, and 86 is being removed for separate votes.
1 second, Council President.
And 85,
And 85.
the bill list.
And 85, I'm sorry. What did you say, Councilman Coley?
Okay, I'm good.
Okay. So again, let me just say, so separate vote is 73, 74, 76, 80.
It's not 73.
73 is not the, I have 73 being removed.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant. I thought you
Okay,
meant what we
so
were
for
voting on.
clarification-
Removed. I'm sorry.
For clarification, these are being removed for
Yes.
separate votes. 73, 74, 76, 80. 82 is being postponed, 85 is a separate vote, and 86 is a separate vote. We're moving to the consent agenda. 75-2015, 77-2015, 78-2015, 79-2015. Consent agenda 81-2015, 83-2015, 84-2015, and 87-2015.
Move.
Moved by Councilman
Second.
Corbett, second by Councilwoman Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda is completed. Moving to 73-2015, a resolution for the transfer of appropriation of reserves.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Butler. On the motion? Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley?
No.
Councilman Corbett?
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason?
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
No.
Councilwoman Butler?
No.
And I am in favor. Do you have the vote?
4-3.
Four yeas and 3 nays. Going to 74-2015.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes. Councilwoman? Yes. Go ahead, yes.
You need 5.
For 73,
Who were the 3 names?
We need 5, right, Mr. Matt?
we need 3 for a transfer.
We need the majority. He said 5.
Mr.
That's
Matt,
what I.
Pardon me?
for a transfer of appropriation, do you need 5?
Shouldn't
I
we
don't
ask-
think so. I believe you need
wait one
5 for the emergency temporary appropriations. But for transfer, I believe you only need a majority.
Can I ask, can we please stop having from the audience, I'm going to come back to
You
70.
need only a majority.
And do you want to speak into the mic, Mr. Smith? And
Majority
You
is what's
agree with me?
required.
Okay. So you have 4 yeas and 3 nays. Moving to 74-2015, a resolution waiving a 20-day period for ordinance 4-2015.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Eason. On the motion. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
No.
Councilwoman Butler.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well.
Which one is that?
74-2015 passes. Moving to 76-2015, a resolution authorizing the purchase of 1 new Case 721F 4-wheel drive articulated wheel loader for the Public Works Departments to Trico Equipment Services LLC, 551 North Harding Highway, Vineland, New Jersey, 08360, an amount not to exceed $193,898.
Move.
Moved by Councilman
Second.
Corbett, second by Councilwoman Eason. On the motion. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Butler.
No.
And I am in favor. The motion carries. At this time, I need a motion to extend the meeting.
No. Motion.
Motion.
Second.
You got it. Motion by Councilwoman
Second.
Eason, second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. Roll call. Councilman Coley. To extend the meeting.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
No.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Butler.
Only because the fire director
That's
is
what
on
I'm
here.
saying.
Yes.
Exactly. Get him.
Somebody say fire.
Thank you.
So that's a yes, and I am a yes as well.
Yes.
The meeting is extended. 6-1. Moving to 80-2015, a resolution for the emergency temporary appropriation to the calendar year 2015 budget for the month of April 2015.
Move.
Motion by
Second.
Councilwoman Easton, second by Councilwoman Butler. On the motion. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
No.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Butler.
No.
Councilman Williams, yes. I'm just ready. You ready? Okay, we, again, 82 is postponed. Okay. Moving to the bill list. A resolution approving the bill list for council meeting vote on March 17, 2015, dated March 13, 2015, and approving checks issued by the Finance Department in accordance with Ordinance 2-95. Is there a motion?
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett. Second by Councilwoman Easton. On the motion.
Council President, you didn't recite the dollar amount.
I know because there was a lot of questions and I'm wondering if we're going back. Is there any on the motion? So nothing's coming off?
No.
1,396,574.88.
You're gonna take those beds off of there, right?
The set is. Are you playing?
I'm telling you.
We're playing, right?
They slept on them already?
Yes.
They slept on them already?
Yes. That's what I just asked. Councilman Coley.
That's why.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
No.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
No.
And I abstain. It does pass. Going to 86-2015.
Drum roll.
This is in the record.
Which one is that one?
Drum roll.
This is a resolution. A resolution confirming the appointment of Kenneth M. Douglas as Director of the Fire for the City of Orange Township. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Corvus, second by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. On the motion,
I just want to say to
Councilwoman Eason.
acting director, they must really love you because Spearman is so sleepy he don't know. He's up past his bedtime, so he must really love you because he's up past his bedtime.
Any others on the motion? That being said, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
A resounding yes. Yes.
And Councilwoman Williams, yes. And I just want to take the time, since it's short, to read into the record. Whereas NJSA Ford and Coley 69A, and you can stand, Director Douglas.
Director Douglas, you can stand.
And your team can stand with you if they want to. Whereas NJSA 40:69A-43B provides for the appointment and term of director of each department, the appointment to be designated by the mayor of the municipality upon the advice and consent of the governing body. And whereas the Honorable Dwayne D. Warren, Mayor of the City of Orange Township, has determined that Kenneth M. Douglas is competent and experienced to serve as Director of Fire, and whereas Mayor Warren has appointed Kenneth M. Douglas to serve as Director of Fire for the City of Orange Township, which appointment is for a term of office of the mayor, appointed Kenneth M. Douglas and until the appointment and qualification of his successor. And now therefore be it resolved by the Municipal Council of the City of Orange Township that the appointment of Kenneth M. Douglas be and same is hereby confirmed and approved as Director of Fire for the City of Orange Township, the term of appointment to become effective upon passage of this resolution and expiring as set forth herein. Congratulations.
Thank you, Council.
And we're going back to the ordinances on first reading. I need to have a resolution to suspend the rules to add 88-22-15 to suspend the rules to hold an executive session. Is there a motion?
Motion.
And the motion is by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilwoman Summers Johnson. And this is a motion to hold an executive session 88-2015, and the reason is trying to see which one. And we're going to put it on the other, and this is pending ecstatic members of the public and council members, I'm going to need you to, the meeting is still going. We're on, who made the motion again? I'm sorry. 88-2015. I need a motion for 88-2015.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman, don't close it yet. Motion by Councilwoman Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson, and this is to accept 88-2015 to hold an executive closed session for other reasons. Councilman Coley.
No.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Williams, yes. Resolution does pass. I'm doing a motion to enter into executive session. Is there a motion to enter into executive session? Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Councilman Coley. To enter into executive session.
No.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
Councilman Eason.
Yes.
And I am in favor as well. Okay. I am asking this, and you can't leave, Matt Jr., to leave, but to cut it down for a second. We're going to executive session. You ready?
Wow.
A motion by Councilwoman Gaunt Butler. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Councilman Johnson. Roll call, Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett. Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
And and I am in favor as well. We're back in executive session at a regular session at 11:01 p.m. We are back on the ordinances on first reading. Going back to 14-2015. An ordinance amending Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township entitled Administration of Government regarding Department Directors. This is the motion to amend and adopt on first reading.
Move.
Moved by Councilman Corbett.
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Eason. On the motion, seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Eason.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Gaunt Butler.
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. You're gonna publish it, doesn't it? The amendment, can I see that to you? Just for the record, the amendment would be on page 2 of the ordinance under letter C, to add to item number 5 that includes but not limited to executive or privileged matters. And the public hearing will be on April 21st, 2015. Going to 18, Councilwoman Gaunt Butler?
No, I was trying to communicate with the city attorney. Was it executive and privileged matters or
Yes.
executive closed session?
It's executive privilege, privilege covers,
Executive session and privilege matters,
right, matters.
including but not limited to.
It didn't say executive session, it said executive and privilege
Okay, let's make sure it's executive.
session.
No, let's just put executive session.
Executive session or executive sessions and privilege matters, just,
Right.
because
Yeah.
privilege matters is broad.
Executive sessions.
And privilege matters,
Privilege matters.
just because,
This is why we need things in front of us.
Contract, personnel,
But-
and litigation.
but,
But then, which is why you go into executive session.
exactly, because
Right, that's fine.
what our executive session has its own definition, which includes what you're just saying. That's why I was just, because I don't want it to be limited, because it has its own definition.
Okay.
And Councilman Coley so noted. Why
Thank
you
you,
want it in
Council
writing.
President.
Moving to 18-2015, an ordinance amending Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township entitled Administration of Government.
Are you passing for what?
Councilwoman Easton. Councilwoman Easton. You got it. I'm hearing you on the mic. Oh, that's okay. An ordinance amending Chapter 4 of the Municipal Code of the City of Orange Township entitled Administration of Government, amending the powers of the City Council regarding council activity. Is there a motion to adopt on first reading by Councilman Corbett?
Second.
Second by Councilwoman Grant Butler. On the motion. Seeing none, roll call. Councilman Coley.
Yes.
Councilwoman Easton.
Yes.
Councilman Corbett.
Yes.
Councilwoman Summers Johnson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Grant Butler.
In favor.
And I am in favor as well. You have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Easton. You said no, Councilwoman?
I meant to say.
Second by Councilwoman Grant Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?